mute. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, you actually, thank you for making such a good. Okay, item one, in tonight's work session, we've got city policies and disclosures. We will make a presentation on that, and then Maurice, I know that you have some comments you'd like to make, so after Jody's done.
Okay,
Mayor,
and
your
each one,
mic might not be on.
you will find a conflict of interest and an ethics behavior disclosure. The state with House Bill 80 that was passed this past year requires that we post those for all city council members, decision-making committees. So in this case, it would be the planning commission members and city employees on our website. So we'll need those turned in before the end of the month, and then we'll go ahead and there is a heading under our website that calls for disclosures, and we'll go ahead and post that to comply with House Bill 80. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to read over the conflict of interest statement and the ethics behavior. These were policies that were adopted back in 2022 at the suggestion of our attorney and the state at that time. Before that, we did always fill out a conflict of interest statement when we ran for elections and a behavior form when you ran for elections, but now it's a little bit more in depth. So we'll go ahead and comply with that. If no one has any questions, turn it back to the mayor.
Okay. Jody?
I already asked Jody my question.
All right, well, Maurice?
Mayor, I don't know if your microphone's on or if it's dead.
Make sure microphone's on.
Right. Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council, for allowing me to come tonight. The purpose of coming is to.
Maybe just pull those microphones a little closer, because I'm not sure that
Is that better?
they're a little sensitive.
Is that a little better?
I think that's probably.
Okay. The purpose of me coming tonight is to be able to speak about adopting a code of conduct and a code of censure for public officials, appointees, and employees. I read through the annual ethics page, and I think it's a good document, but my concern is that it's not being followed. And I'm going to give specific examples. They're not meant to disparage people, but they are examples that where I feel that there has been unethical and even illegal conduct in the city, and it continues to happen. And I don't know if the city has a blind eye to it. I know that when I've approached the city about concerns about ethics, the city's response to me has always been, we're fine, we're not doing anything wrong. And so I'm going to give some examples here because I want it on public record. And then I'm going to talk about why these codes are essential and why they're important. Just as in each of your employment, if you did something unethical or illegal, you would be held accountable or should be held accountable. The same would be true here. And in my opinion, that is not happening. And so that's what I would like to speak to. I have about 3 pages to read, and I'll go through it quickly and also provide a copy to Jody at the end so that it can be distributed to each of you. This is different than the 2 emails that I sent out previously to each of you regarding this topic. Those emails that I sent out previously go into a little more detail on the codes of conduct and the code of censure and the purpose of them, and also a template for creating one. This is more my personal feelings. Okay. Woodland Hills City officials are entrusted with their positions to serve the public and uphold the best interests of the community. Their authority derives from the consent of the people who elect or appoint them to act as stewards of public resources, safety, and governance. As public servants, their primary responsibility is to ensure transparency, accountability, and fairness in all decisions addressing the needs and concerns of residents rather than pursuing personal or political agendas. The safety, peace, and fair application of the law among residents should be prioritized. These foundational principles underscore that officials work for the people, not the other way around, and their actions must always reflect the trust and expectations placed upon them by the community they serve. I am before you today to urge the adoption of a formal code of conduct and a mechanism for censuring public officials, appointees, and employees. Such measures are vital for ensuring accountability, transparency, and ethical behavior in all facets of public service. And that's really why I am proposing this, is that there is accountability, that there is transparency, and that there is ethical behavior. And the impetus for this request stems from multiple incidents over many years involving public officials, appointees, and employees engaging in conduct that has been unethical, unprofessional, disrespectful to residents, dismissive of constituents' concerns, and more alarming, illegal conduct. Such behavior is unacceptable and undermines the very principles of government and service the residents of Woodland Hills deserve. So here are a few examples that highlight this conduct by city officials and by employees and by appointees. And although many more could be cited, I'm just focused on these few instances. Former Councilman David Pratt was illegally appointed as the building official in violation of Municipal Code 9.1.1 by Mayor Winder and remained in that position even after I and others objected to this appointment for lack of qualifications. He simply wasn't qualified. He didn't have the years of experience. He could not make the judgments a building official should make, and the city officials knew that. The city council knew of this appointment also and did nothing to stop it. Also in violation of Municipal Code 9.1.1, Corbett Stevens, the former building official, public inspector, and public works director, unlawfully enforced non-existence code during the construction of our home and fabricated additional codes which he also imposed. He failed to enforce codes we requested him to enforce, such as those of earth compactions. Despite violation of city, state, and international building code, he allowed our builder to abandon the project, leaving over $100,000 in omissions and $50,000 in construction defects. Without our knowledge or consent, he colluded with the contractor to waive the geotechnical report under an at-risk disclaimer and approved the build. However, we didn't know that he waived this, and they proceeded with the build anyways. Additionally, retaliated against us by forcing us to remove our driveway multiple times at thousands of dollars in cost, reconstructing our ditch and delaying the project. Both Mayor Winder and Prey were aware of this misconduct but failed to take action to protect us, to address the abuse, or to hold Mr. Stevens or our contractor, Manley Construction LLC, accountable. Instead, Mayor Winder attempted to shield Mr. Stevens' illegal actions by indemnifying him. The inaction and complicity of Woodland Hills leaders have been profound, life-altering consequences for us, forcing us to pursue actions against our contractor and spend literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, more than $250,000 at this point, in seeking justice. Justice we're still fighting to obtain. He has caused great expense to our city through his conduct. It was clearly illegal. It was clearly unethical. In violation of Municipal Code 1.6.6a.3, Mayor Prey permitted Corbett Stevens to act unethically, unlawfully, and with malice towards us, despite her assurance that such actions would not be tolerated. I met with her in person, and she gave me that personal pledge. But then, when he continued his conduct, she allowed it to continue, and she didn't stop him. She also improperly censored me on a private Facebook page when I posted government documents showing city officials had acted illegally, especially Corbett Stevens. And I was blocked from that page and banned by a sitting mayor who had no authority over a public-private page. It was clearly unethical, and it was probably illegal. And so, additionally, Mayor Prey collaborated with Mr. Stevens to make false claims to government officials regarding the dumping of sewage in our ditch. She knew that there was sewage running through those manholes, through those mains. So did Corbett Stevens. He knew every single one because he surveyed them constantly, and he actually oversaw hooking up the sewage to our home. And yet he cleaned out a sewage truck in our ditch. Then he lied to government officials about it. Appointee Wayne Franson, serving on the zone enforcement as a zoning enforcement officer, has consistently failed to enforce nuisance codes designed to protect residents, with no corrective action taken by Mayor Winder or the City Council despite their awareness of this official misconduct. It is important to the safety of us as residents in this city that heavy fuels be removed from these properties. And yet for 6 years, I've been asking, and for 6 years, all I've gotten is excuses. Wayne Franson has repeatedly exceeded the scope of his authority, also holding conflicting appointments that centralize his power in his role and undertake work for which he lacks the necessary qualifications. Nuisances I have reported for over the years, posing threats to our safety and well-being of all residents, still are unaddressed. Not a single one of them has been fully addressed in this period of time. We've been in the city for over 8 years. Mayor Winder and the City Council continue to neglect their duty to enforce these codes, refuse to replace Mr. Franson, or comply with the law in this regard. Councilman Janet Lunt, like many of you, campaigned on a platform of transparency, responsibility, service, and especially care. However, she was repeatedly targeting me with hostilities, and even people unfamiliar with me have questioned her behavior and why. Last month, she falsely accused me of operating an illegal Facebook page and pushed for a cease and desist order. Her actions wasted city and Utah County District Attorney resources and time. Mayor Winder supported her efforts. Despite my requests for an apology, neither Mayor Winder nor Councilwoman Lunt has issued one. Her actions are potentially defamation, misuse of public resource, and abuse of power. Certainly, it was unethical and unprofessional, if not illegal. Councilwoman Carrie Malkovich and others closely associated with Woodland Hills City serve as administrators of the Woodland Hills Community News page, which is not an official city page, but a personal public-private page created by a resident. This creates a significant conflict of interest, and I have personally experienced unfair treatment on it due to the political bias, being removed for posting government documents that stated the city acted illegally. And yet, when city officials manage such a public forum under the guise of community representation, it risks continued censorship, favoritism, and biased treatment, raising concerns about transparency and impartiality. Recorder Jody Stone assisted Corbett Stevens in enforcing a rockline ditch on our home that had not undergone the required city approval processes, knowing it was created immediately after Mr. Stevens failed our rockline ditch. In other words, he failed our ditch, he created the code, he went to LEI Engineering, and then Jody sent the information to me saying, here's what you must comply with. After it was constructed, we were then at a cost of thousands of dollars required to rip it out a third time. This happened over and over in our home. And I can't even tell you the emotional impact and the financial impact it's had on me. And yet the city still refuses to have our contractor come back and finish the home and correct the defects. She has made false statements and unqualified statements about structural code compliance with the Adams home that she is not qualified to make, and has refused to retract or correct these claims, which would be a simple matter. Therefore, it has resulted in further litigation and unnecessary expense to the city. Finally, City Manager and Finance Director Chris Helvey, who consistently breached the city's PII policy by categorizing legal expenses under the misleading label, the Fuja problem. You all know it's there. It's illegal. It's unethical. It's wrong. I've asked multiple times directly for it to be removed. And despite that, the mayor and city council refused to address this matter. So what is this annual ethical pledge if it's not going to be followed?
Is
It
that a
needs,
question you want answered, or is that?
yes, I would like that answered.
Well, Maurice, I certainly disagree with almost everything that you said in your characterization of the city council.
Yeah,
and city employees. This is your city council room as much
Okay.
as it is mine.
Yeah.
So I'm perfectly happy to have you come and air your grievances, but I couldn't disagree more with almost everything.
so you think that labeling something the Fuja problem in violation of PII is ethical? You feel that Corbett Stevens dumping sewage on our property is illegal, is
Well, Maurice,
ethical?
these are
You,
allegations.
no, these are not allegations.
If
These
you've
are
got
documented
legal
by proof.
evidence, then you should make the cases.
These are
and the cases
documented
that
by
they-
proof.
Okay, well then, you can.
You
hold the city
have
accountable for legal mechanisms.
right there in your budget, the Fuja problem. Is
Well,
that a violation of PII?
Is it?
It is.
According to whom?
How do you not know that as an attorney, how do you not know that that is not a violation of PII?
Well, if you want to provide me with the language, and if we are in violation, we will change.
Just like you said you would apologize when you found out that what Lunt was saying was incorrect, you never apologized.
Maurice, it's difficult to apologize to someone who is constantly attacking us. I mean,
It's
whether
this,
it's
these are
merited or
facts.
not,
These are facts, and they're
your
proven
opinion.
by evidence.
Okay, well, they're your opinion, and I want you to come
No,
be able to
they
air
are
your
not.
grievances, because like I said, and I think everybody at this council
Mhm.
is about transparency, and we're all making sacrifices to try to serve the city. And so,
Well,
and it's
then-
not that hard to complain and critique everything.
then
But
here
what
is a
these
great way.
individuals do-
Here's a great way for us to resolve this. And that's to put in a code of conduct and a code of censure. And then there is a process in place for someone like me who feels that for years, the city, I have come to you, I've tried to work with you, I've tried to ask for your help in resolving these, and no leadership has been taken.
Okay,
to
first of all,
resolve
that's
these.
an interesting way that you characterize it, because that's not what you've done. In the years that I've been mayor, you lead with an attack, and then you expect people to be sympathetic to your cause, which even if they do, or even if they should, you put us in a very difficult position. You sit here and lecture us about not apologizing. You are relentless in your attacks and your criticism. And so,
On every
these are
social
backed
media
by
page,
facts.
you attack all of us.
These
all
are
of us,
backed-
by name.
These are backed by facts.
okay,
Do-
that's
do you-
my evidence. And the thing is,
They
I
are.
don't want this to devolve into a back and forth between you and us. I think that what you're proposing in terms of a code of conduct, there is value in that. And
Okay.
we are intending, we've got a code of conduct, and we are intending to modify it. We've had offers from MAG.
That's
to
great.
Have city managers come in on sort of a incident by incident basis, and we will be looking at that. The censuring process, I absolutely am not supportive of. If you want things to run differently, you should run for it.
I feel
So-
that we have a censoring process already. That's part of our republic.
Well, it's a
It happens
lawsuit.
every 2 years.
It's a lawsuit.
No, it happens every 2 years.
That is not a
If we're
censoring
doing something
process.
illegal,
That is not a
absolutely,
censoring
Maurice.
process.
If there's something illegal, then you definitely have legal recourse, right?
Well,
You can go to the
this is-
county
this
DA,
is
you
why
can go to the
I'm
state,
here
you can go
tonight.
to everything else.
this is why I'm here tonight, because one of the problems is that this information has not been getting out to residents. And I want it on the record. And so if each time one of these events occur, I need to come and get it on the record, that's what I'll do.
I don't think you hold back at all in putting. your
Oh, I do.
speculations
I
out there for
absolutely-
residents to
I
see.
absolutely do.
I
Absolutely
spent
do.
weeks writing a response to you during the election cycle. 17 pages. that detailed everything that I felt in my side. You didn't agree with me, which is wonderful. This
That's
is
fine.
great.
That's fine. We don't
But
have to agree.
you do bring these things out because I knew about them before I ever ran for the council. These things are out there on social media. You put them out there. You put them out there in a very
I want them
in
public,
your
but I have
light.
not put most of them out there.
I've known about pretty much all of these. Well, maybe the dumping sewage I didn't know about. That was a new one on me.
Yeah.
But these you do put out there. You have to admit you put these out there.
I do
You even
put them,
started
I
your
do
own
want,
page,
I
right?
do want them public
And you
because I
claim
think
to
it's
be an
unethical.
official Page.
It's
which you're not,
unethical.
Which
Mayor?
is unethical.
It is not
And
unethical.
again, I think that it's important, I don't want to do this bickering. You made your point, and like I said, to the extent that we see eye to eye that there is a need for a code of conduct,
Mhm.
if the council wants to direct us to adopt a censuring process, they can make that direction. As far as the code of conduct, your point is taken. And I do think that what we have is, it addresses most of the issues that you've raised, and it could be fine-tuned. I'll concede that.
That's
And
great.
implementation,
That's
could-
great. I came here tonight to work with you, not to get in a fight.
Well,
So-
see, this is the problem, Reese, is you sit here and you tell us all.
You
we're
attack
unethical,
us.
And then
I-
you say, I want to work with you.
Well, how do I get that point across then? Because I have for years been asking you to address these things, and you don't.
I
You
would say
you
we
ignore
are
them.
addressing them.
Most
Just
of
not
my
addressing
emails to
satisfaction.
you, Mayor, get ignored. Most of them do.
Because most of them are attacks. Did your last?
No,
email
they're not
regarding this
attacks. They're
get
a
ignored?
they're a resident coming to you concerned about things that
I
are
don't have to
happening.
respond to residents that don't approach me with civility.
Well, you don't. Then I'll come here and
Please.
we can talk about it here.
Please.
Yeah, I have no objection to that.
That's fine.
But Maurice, if we're being completely candid, I did meet with you in good faith and you recorded me. And then you.
Yes,
the
I did.
comments that I made. You
Yes,
took
I
them out of
did.
Context and you put them out there in a way to try to embarrass me. And so you
I
don't
did
think that
record-
breaches trust?
I did record you after you breached my trust. I did record you.
I don't know how. you would reach
Absolutely,
this
I
in that
did.
situation Because I never even had.
And if it's embarrassing for you to say that it did boost your ego to be on the wall of mayors, and that's why you're running, you didn't have time for this job, and if that embarrasses you, that is your concern, not mine.
That's
But
not
that is what
embarrassing
you
me.
said.
I actually do consider this an honorable position, but that's not what embarrasses me. What bothers me is the fact that you sat there and you want to disclose everything that was in that recording, because there were things that you said that were very personal to you. I wouldn't disclose them. But you should go review them.
I could disclose it. That's not a problem for me.
Okay, but
And I can defend my position. But I came here tonight to speak to you about these. And once again, the city has done no wrong. They see no problem
it's
with
not
violating
about
PII.
what it is
PII.
that
You-
nothing is ever done to your satisfaction. matter
No.
what we do,
What
make
have you
us
done
satisfied.
to address the Fuja problem?
We've been fighting it for years.
No, what have you done to address the Fuja problem in the budget that violates PII?
Well, provide me with the language that we are violating, and we will look at that.
What have you
never
done
provided.
to address
Yes,
the
it's-
official page
It's
problem?
right in your PII. Pull up your PII. I'll provide it after
Yeah,
this.
just provide it. I mean, if we're in violation, I will walk it back.
You're in violation. It's clear you're in violation. What have you done to address Corbett Stevens' actions towards us as individuals that have cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Look.
What have you
we
done?
have Investigated, you've met with Ted on multiple occasions. We have looked into those issues.
I still don't have an answer.
And Doppel has looked into them as well. As
What?
an employee, do we get a chance to at least make a statement concerning the allegations he has made against each one of us?
think
I agree.
You're also a citizen.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. What have you done to address my contractor abandoning the project?
We have looked at it, but is there legal grounds for us to insert ourselves in the middle of it?
Yes,
That
there
is
is.
the thing.
They're
Well, in your
ongoing.
opinion-
They're
in your-
ongoing.
In your opinion, there are, but when we've assessed it, we felt that there are things that.
What code are you
yes,
referencing? Because your code, municipal code of Woodland Hills state, you will follow the International Building Code, which requires a project to be finished.
Okay, let me just say, you say we've done nothing. We've actually gone into great depth on all of those issues. But the fact that we don't come to the conclusions that you want us to.
I never
come to,
even
you
hear the
say that-
conclusions because you don't communicate with me.
Well, I think that we do, actually.
No, you don't. You do not. You
Well,
have never
not to your
communicated
satisfaction.
once to me about the PII. You've refused to when I've emailed you. You've not communicated me with what is going to be done to get my contractor back. You've not communicated any action that have been taken to ensure that our home is safe from the heavy fuels.
Okay, well, I think we can actually address all of those. And Jody, I would like to give you an opportunity to speak. And Ted, I can see you, and Wayne, yeah.
Ted,
Okay.
Ted has worked with me, and Ted is by
Ted is part
far.
of our organization. Ted is part of all of us trying
But
to
Mayor,
solve this problem.
Mayor, you are here to enforce the law and to keep the peace, and you have not done that.
In your opinion.
Are we at peace here?
Well, is it because
Are you
of
at
me?
peace with Fujas? Are you at peace with others in the city that
Uh,
where,
We are close to a peace with the future, yes.
well, that'd be great. I
agree.
just talked to them last week and they are not.
Well, when they lose, we'll be at peace.
Oh, I see, when they lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Because
Well,
they're-
peace
they're-
does not come simply because you get what you want, right? That is not how peace.
I'm not
is
talking
enforced.
about that.
But that is
Ted,
what exactly.
no,
what you just
Ted
said
has
right
worked with me, for
And he
instance, on
has.
the snow
there. For
removal
sure.
problem
And
that
who
we've
has
been
done that?
having. And
Yeah,
Ted
yeah.
has worked with,
Every single storm, I
Ted-
am the one who comes out of my route to make sure your street is taken care of.
when?
Every
last-
single storm.
Well, then you did a lousy job for the last 3 years. But
Well,
if
I
we're
have
talking, but if
documentation
we're
on it.
talking about Ted's
Maurice,
conduct
My
here
friend,
in the last,
here
in the
is-
la-
here
no,
is
let
the
me
issue.
finish. I'm trying to pay you a compliment, Ben. Let me do it.
You just slammed
In
me.
the last 4 storms,
Yes,
Ted came out and he personally met with me.
correct.
It was great. He actually showed up on my street. He asked me to come out. We met together.
Wonderful.
We worked through our concerns. And then he took my recommendations on how to plow that roundabout. And you came out and you did a great job.
And since that conversation with Ted, I am the one that has tackled it every single storm.
So why can't we do that with these other problems?
So this is where I think we all can learn together, right? If we talk about your page, okay, you have a page that you have created for the community to use. That page, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, you started for the intent that
I'm not here to talk
municipal-
about that
Well,
page and I'm not
hey,
going to.
Don't let me now finish, please. You started it with the intent to be able to ask city officials their opinion and to hold them account. That was the header of your page.
No, it was.
Since then, you have banned every single one of us from that page.
That was not my, that was not, no, and that's
So,
that's
well,
not true either.
I've had
So that's
both of
two
my accounts banned.
you have.
I have.
Yeah.
Because you don't like what I have to say.
No,
Now, that's fine.
it's because you violate
So,
the
the sewer.
page rules.
You're saying Corbett pulled sewage out of a manhole and dumped it in your ditch.
Yes.
I don't know if you know how the piping works of the sewer line in your home, on your street. You are connected after the second manhole.
Yes.
The top manhole has 0 homes connected to it.
That's right.
After a massive storm, Corbett backed in the back truck, sucked out a massive quantity of water, and dumped it off the hillside. That is a whole different ballgame than sewage being
Quantity
dumped
of
in
water from where?
from the untapped, unused
That's
sewer
what
line.
is false. And I have pictures and video.
Okay.
of it.
Is there sewage in it?
Yes, there is. And
But
if you
it's
watch me turn on the water in my shower and we'll open that manhole and you come and see, Ben.
Hey, let's do it.
Let's
I'd
do
be
it.
okay
You
with
come,
that.
you come to my home and I will show you.
Perfect. Then that'll prove me wrong. But this is what I would love to see going forward personally, is if we can start with questions and meetings. Let's talk. If you have an issue, call me. right? I will
I
be
can't
to
get
your
you guys to communicate. You won't respond to me.
every single time you have ever called me, I have come.
I
to
am not
your
going to
home.
pick up the phone. I
I-
am an email person.
That's fine.
So then respond to me, Ben, instead of
If you
ignoring it
reply-
over and over
If you
and
send to
over.
all of us, I'll tell you what will happen. If one of us replies, the rest of us won't.
That's
Because
fine.
we have a large
That is
quantity on our
fine.
plate.
I am looking for a response from the city.
How many times have I replied to you?
I don't know, but it's not
Lots.
very many.
It's quite a bit,
No,
right?
no.
We are here to help in any way we can.
Then
And
do
when
it.
you come to us with a concern, we will listen.
And Maurice, let me just say too, I mean, and I think that you being here tonight illustrates this. You approached this issue in a civil way, and you got a civil response, I believe. And now we're here, we're having a conversation, and I'm hoping that this conversation can lead us in a good direction. But you have to understand that you getting your way in every particular is not a solution.
I have never asked that of you, and I don't expect that of you, Mayor. And it's offensive that you would say that of me.
That's the way it feels.
When Ted came to my home and we worked through the issues of Wayne not enforcing the fire nuisance code, we worked through it. I'm patiently waiting for the spring to come. Ted has been great to work with me. He came out and he worked with me on the snow. But it's because he's willing to come and work through it, where you are not, and others on this council are not.
Well, we're having this discussion right now.
Well,
So
that's
I
great.
think that
I
we are.
appreciate it. And so let me finish. Okay? So I believe each and every one of these are they're either illegal or unethical, at the very least, unprofessional. And I know your position, every one of you, your position is you've done no wrong, and that is the message that we have gotten
Have any of us
over
said
and
that?
over and over.
I
don't
that
think-
we would say that we've done no wrong.
Yeah.
We also don't just bow to your accusations.
Well, yeah, thanks for the condescending remark.
I, on my statement, the next time we had a council meeting, I made a correction to my statement. It's on public record.
Well, that's great. It would have been nice if you just would have reached out to me personally, Janet, and said, I'm sorry for what I said. It was incorrect. Please forgive me. That's all it would have taken. But you don't do that. You don't do that. And that's all it would take. A simple, civil statement like that.
Then maybe you should set an example and do that with us as well.
Janet,
I'm serious.
Janet, this is
And-
exactly
serious.
why, this is exactly why I am here tonight.
Okay, but take away the same thing, like, 'cause
But,
your civility.
but why
would get you-
can't you simply say, I'm sorry, we made a mistake? And simply be civil about it. But instead, this is what I get, and that's exactly why I'm here tonight, is because of the constant pushback and the constant treatment. You're signing ethical pledges, and I'm asking for a code of conduct. I'm asking for a censure code so that additional lawsuits don't have to come against the city to address this kind of garbage. And your point is, give me the code, give me the legal code,
Well, I'm just saying, you gotta give it the
Ins-
authority. If you're saying that we're acting unlawful or unlawfully.
then read your own PII document. It's right there. Go home and read it, and then tell me if you can't find it. And if you can't, I will point it out. That's all I'm saying.
You got a grievance with it. If you have some legal authority to support your grievance, let me know.
So
Otherwise-
this is where we're at again. Let's go to the law. Let's have somebody sue the city, and then you'll
It's
you'll
not a matter
decide.
of whether- I'm not going to go.
It's a
into
violation of
through-
PII. It's a clear violation of
If
PII.
it's clear, then just send it to me.
It's
Why is
ide-
that asking so much?
It is in your, I'm not going to send it to you when you have it, Mayor.
Okay,
You
well,
created it. The
you're
city
gonna-
just
you're gonna
created
get
it.
past on that. So Maurice, why don't you wrap it up? I'm gonna let those who you have
Great.
made allegations against,
Great.
address those allegations. And then I do think that there is room to move forward with this. And I hope.
I
that
do
we
too.
can. And honestly, I mean, I didn't want to have this as an argument and as.
I didn't
some sort of
either.
a, I wanted it to be something where you could come and feel like you're heard. But at the same time, you have to understand that as people, we don't sit by and allow people to attack us in what I feel is in many cases baseless. And so.
It's
if-
not
if-
baseless. I
well,
just gave you evidence, and I'll give
you
you as
didn't.
many documents. I have
No, you didn't.
20,000
You
documents.
did not give us evidence.
I will
Maurice,
give you
Maurice, we need to be
20,000
clear.
documents.
Let's be clear with this. You refused, absolutely refused to give the mayor the PI, to show the mayor the PII. That is, right there is not giving him evidence. Just
Why
because it
would I
comes out of
send
your mouth.
you,
No.
Brian? Why would
No,
I
you let
send
me
you?
talk.
Why would I send
Let
you?
me
All right.
talk.
Why would I send you a
Please.
document that you already have?
asked everybody else to let you talk, so
Go
now
ahead.
it's my turn.
Go ahead.
You did not produce evidence. You did not produce evidence. You produced accusations without evidence. Be clear. You don't have the evidence in front of you. You've not given us anything. You've told us that it's in this PII. I don't even know what the hell it is.
Why
So,
not?
I don't
Why
know.
not? You passed it. Just a few months ago, you passed
I
it.
did not pass anything that said PII on it that I remember.
Was he
What
not
is
a
it?
part
What
of the
does
council?
it stand for, Maurice?
What, were you not a
What
part?
does it stand for, Maurice?
Personally identifiable information, and were you not a part of the council
Yes,
that approved
now-
it?
City council
yes.
passed a privacy
We,
information policy.
so it's
It was not a
It
PII,
was not a PII.
and it is on
And
our,
you keep
wood-
saying
our,
that
our
you're producing
website.
evidence, but it's not evidence. You're producing accusations, and if you have evidence, we would like to see it.
You have it.
No,
You passed
we,
it.
Okay.
we will look at,
Hold on.
wait, if we don't have a PII, then we don't have evidence, all
You
right?
passed it and you have it.
Brian, I
We will-
appreciate where you're going with
We
this.
will look at this, but
Yeah.
please be clear, you did not produce evidence.
We're going in circles here. Your point is taken about some of the policies that could be improved. Now, whether or not we can bridge this gap that's between us, I hope we can. That's the long and short of it. I genuinely hope that there can be some understanding and mutual understanding.
That's all I'm asking.
Okay, well, that's, I think, something that we could all agree on, that it's something that if we can find common ground, we want to find, okay? I mean,
So-
fair enough?
So, yeah, that's fair enough, but you didn't even give the other members the opportunity to speak regarding the censure. I'm sure they'll say the same thing, but you made a decision without the council even voting on it.
No, it's not a vote tonight, it's a discussion.
I know,
It's
but
open.
you shot it down saying that it's not going to be discussed.
I didn't say it's not going to be discussed.
You just said it's, what did you say?
Was not in favor of a
I'm not in
policy.
favor of it. I don't
Okay.
want to vote on that.
Very good. Well, let me finish.
Well, wait, now, you've actually been given 30 minutes to air your grievances, and I think that it's time to wrap up. I do want to.
Yeah, I want to wrap up.
Okay.
Just give me a minute to wrap up. So the code of conduct, I think it's essential. And this is the very reason it's essential. I don't enjoy coming here. I am not a person that likes to get in front of people. I don't like to make accusations against people, even if they're true. I just don't. I would love nothing more than to work with the city to resolve my concerns and to be able to go away. But that's not happening. And that's why I'm here tonight. So I think a code of conduct and a censure code is essential. I think it's critical. I think that when we have people that are putting PII information out that violates your own policies, and I'm not going to send it to you because you guys approved it, you should know what's in it, and you should read it. I think it's very important that when there is that kind of conduct continuing on in the city, that there has to be a way for us to hold people accountable. It is not a tool for weaponization. It is simply a tool to be able to bring fairness and accountability to the city. And I think it impacts the public trust when you're unwilling to put such things in place.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
So he's gonna stay and listen to what we say back?
I guess
think we would
not.
be
I'm
fair.
not
I think it's-
interested because I've heard it all before.
I don't think you have.
Repeatedly. Well, I'm not interested because I know your positions and I know all of
Interesting.
you are going to defend the illegal conduct.
Maurice, are we not allowed to?
It's a one-way
Well, I
thing.
think
It's
because
aggressive,
this is-
aggressive passive.
It's still public record.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Let's carry on.
everyone that has been,
Please.
I think should have an opportunity to.
Especially the employees too and the city council, please.
It needs to go on public record.
Yeah, all right.
My apologies for yelling there. That really frustrated me.
So Mayor, who do you
My
want to go
apologies
first?
everybody.
Well, I was gonna say, why don't we start at the back of the room and, Jody, do you wanna?
Come up and sit.
Put it on
Yeah,
public
you can actually-
record.
Yeah, you're recorded where you are.
I'm recorded where I am, and I think Chris, as long as you can tell me you can hear me, we're good.
Loud and clear. We're having a hard time
Maurice
hearing the mayor.
made-
Not as well as Brian, I think that everyone.
Can somebody give mayor a new microphone?
Yeah, we need to get the mayor a new microphone.
Yeah, talk too much in that first section.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't think we've ever had public comment for a whole 30 minutes. I went first.
He,
It's okay.
he did ask previously
Yeah.
to be on the agenda, so.
So there were 2 allegations that were made by Mr. Rokovitz in reference to myself. One had to do with a rock line ditch and the illustration that we provided him with, and the comment that it was a code that was passed after. No, the code already existed. We came up with these illustrations because individuals were having a difficult time following the code without an illustration. The same goes with the code that specified how a yoke is supposed to be on a water meter, the 18 to 24 inches from the top of the lid. That illustration was done by LEI at the same time. So in our process to try and help our residents by providing illustrations, instead we were accused of coming up with new code, which was, that's up to them to decide, but the standards were in our development and construction standards at the time Mr. Rokovitz began building. Since Mr. Rokovitz started building, he's turned in a substantial amount of grandma requests. Many of the grandma requests would be filled, and then he'd say, "Oh, I'm not interested in paying for it. I only want this information." So a great amount of city staff time was spent on collecting the information. Sometimes, in order to appease Mr. Rokovitz, I was kind enough to drop off the information he requested at no charge to him at his home. Just so that we had a clear communication and that we knew that we were being transparent and open with him. So I feel that we have been transparent and open as far as his requests. As far as his accusation with the Pujas, I will not address that because we're still in litigation with them. And that's not something that our attorneys advised me to address at this time.
Wait.
I won't take my 35-minute allotted time here.
We were going for a bell ringer of the council. We haven't really gotten to business yet.
I think we've already been there. Just a couple of comments. He mentioned Corbett, and Corbett's not here to defend himself, but from my understanding, and it's something that I would have been involved in the time had I been here, with the driveway, that the driveway was done wrong and it needed to be corrected. And that is the reason then that the then building inspector required the driveway to be redone. It wasn't a retribution or dislike, it was done wrong. So I just wanted to put that on the record. Maurice, he's ignorant of goings on behind the scenes here in the city and what staff does and staff responsibility. And so quite a bit of what he said was in error, but I think in ignorance of his lack of understanding. So I just wanted to go on the record with that as well. Efforts are ongoing with enforcing our code. Again, it may not be to Maurice's liking, the way it's done. Our goal, which I've said before, is to seek compliance. It's not to enforce penalties on people necessarily. unless it's needed. So I think he, I'm not gonna say what I think, but it's up to him. He's already said his piece and whatnot. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that was on the record. So,
Thanks.
thank you.
Ed, did you have something you wanted to chime in with? The only one who got out of this without scars.
Oh, good job, Ted.
Sometimes
it's just- Sometimes just a matter of conversation, and sometimes it's difficult when it starts off as accusations, figure out how to rein that in and come to some common ground. No, the only thing I would have to report, so there are a few items that we've been working through with Maurice from my aspect. One's the fire mitigation, which we are in the process of doing. I've sent him updates. We've reached out to the property owner next to him, who admittedly doesn't put as much attention to their property as they probably should. So we've reached out to them, and they're going to pay the city crews to do mitigation this year in the spring. We just kind of got to this late last year, and their fire crews were out on fires all the time. So and then our property is going to be up around the tank, kind of just above him, is our next focus area. The crews have been down in Broad Canyon, or Broad Hollow, for a couple of years because that was the more kind of prioritize these areas based on risk, and that was a higher risk area. So they've been working there. We've got that cleared out now, and we're going to start it by the water tank. So I think we've addressed that. As far as the building issue, I've spent several hours, many hours, investigating all that. I'm just about ready to kind of bring that to a conclusion. I believe it's just unfortunately I'm at the mercy of a lot of other people's schedules and return phone calls and stuff like that as far as getting it done timely. But I think we've been able to get through all that. Had several phone calls, done a lot of investigation work, went through all the issues, and so I think we're about ready to address that. And then I think snow plowing you brought up. So it's just kind of one of those things where, it wasn't snow plowing is always a challenge. Like the snow plowers, it's very difficult job, especially when you're out there in a blinding snowstorm. In the middle of the night, this is what we talked about up there in this cul-de-sac, in the middle of the night, in a blinding snowstorm, and you're trying to keep priority roads open. Sometimes these things become difficult. More difficult to work on, and you can't get to them too early. We talked to them about help. I think we worked through what our processes are and our priorities in snow plowing, and he's kind of agreed and conceded to what those priorities are, and then we agreed to plow that one a little differently so that we're not damaging and stuff like that. We've done a great job.
Just not the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't think it was an issue of, it's just one of those where it's a cul-de-sacs are difficult. You can't get the big trucks in there very well. And so we get service trucks in there, and sometimes it's just difficult to find ways you can turn and how you push snow and how much snow you can push before you have to dump it off and all that stuff. I think we're working through it. So.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Plow himself, come on
I
up.
wasn't going to say anything, but I
So I'm gonna talk about the snow plowing because I think that's complete bull. And I'll tell you why very specifically. Say for 4 years or whatever, I've been plowing since the moment one, and I've supervised it since the first year. There's been accusations back many years, even prior to 4 years, where we have damaged stuff. I've taken pictures, baloney, no damage whatsoever. At least I get the whole thing about the ditch gut, but it's not even his to worry about on that side. But very specific, I remember a very specific night when he pulled in front of me, by the way, past your house and blocked the road for me plowing at about 2 o'clock in the morning on a New Year's Eve. Okay? Because he didn't like the lights that I had on so that I could see to plow. All right? Yeah, I'm a little upset about it. He goes on and talks about negativity. To be honest, I'm not a negative person. I don't know how he does it, to be honest. It would be exhausting. The snowplow drivers are not incompetent. He has posted that, right? they sacrifice. We've talked about that. And I remember one time, very specifically, he complained to the city council / Mayor Prey that we hadn't done his road. I literally took the truck over, went from Eagle's Nest all the way past his house, pulled back, took a picture. This is from the road with a straight blade. There was literally a half an inch of snow by about an inch that I had plowed literally from Eagle's Nest all the way past his house, and he complained about that because we hadn't swept his road. Okay, that was after hours of fighting through blizzards and things like that. I've got a lot more to say. I'm going to cap it there. I'll talk about snowplowing later. Thank you for all you do, and I'm sorry you have to put up with that crap.
The
Thanks,
only good
David.
thing, Dave, is that we got a new law passed for the state because of us.
And thank you, David.
All right, Chris.
Yep, mine are just going to be two statements. Don't really need to respond to them first. I was in the office. I believe Mayor Prey was the mayor at the time that this quote unquote sewer was dumped. I went immediately up to the cul-de-sac personally and trying to find my pictures. I took pictures of it. I was surprised that somebody was calling and complained. I think there was less than 2 shovelfuls full of sand. Anybody who knows that I've had cancer, I'm a germ freak. I got on my hands and knees. I didn't smell anything. I took my hands and I dug through that stuff and there was not 1 ounce of smell. Ben is exactly right. The sewer was not connected till after where Corbett went and cleaned out that manhole. The second thing was the PII. Unless I'm mistaken, if somebody grandma requested those attorney bills, I believe I do not have to black out those names. So I believe that is public information, not personal information. If somebody called and wanted the driver's license of, let's say, one of the snowplow drivers or Jody Stones, that is PII. But until Mr. Rokovich can prove something otherwise, I'm not quite sure what direction we want to go with the bills.
And all the court records are public record.
I believe where he might be going with it, and I say might very hesitantly, is that no personal identifiable information would be shared. In his opinion, that personal identifiable information is being shared by putting the name on the document.
So a resident could grandma the bills each month and then post the bills on their own Facebook pages. And that would
Yes,
have the
they could.
information on there. Okay. That actually would be a little bit worse because they would see so we'll leave it
Okay.
up to the citizens.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris. All right, Carrie?
Sure. One of the things, I mean, if Mr. Brokovich was still here and willing to listen to us, but we do maybe have a few residents who will listen to this recording afterwards, and I hope that he does. I want him to be aware that he is one of 1,500 residents, and we communicate with lots of them on a daily, monthly basis. Whether it's concerns or whether it's other things that come into play, we are open. We are there, we communicate, we all answer back, we invite people here, we invite them to listen to these recordings. All of us, and I know it has been all of us, have met with him personally. We have talked to him over and over again. We have exchanged in emails multiple times through the years. The mayor is having a dance party.
Sorry.
We have met with him many times, and all of us have tried because as everyone came on, he's reached out to us. But just like the discussion that happened tonight, that has happened to us on a personal level with one-on-one meetings. And those attacks are not communication. Those attacks are what they are, attacks, and they are personal opinion, not fact. And personal opinion, so saying that the city has not dealt with them means that that's not correct because we have dealt with many of the issues that he has brought up in the past as well as current. But a personal attack doesn't mean that we need to turn around and do whatever he says to make that compliant or transparent. I know that he sends all of us those long things. Ryan put 17 pages out. The rest of us have not done as much. in years past, and Mr. Rokovich knows this, I was willing to meet with him, talk with him, write out those long things until he started threatening me. He threatened me legally. He threatened me with the law enforcement. He threatened me with church action, specifically taking away my temple weapon. That is not his business. For me, at that point, I told him that I would no longer be communicating with him because although I am an elected official, I don't feel that it's our responsibility to keep accepting people who attack us. Now, he has other avenues, and especially the mayor, which I hate to throw that at you, Mayor, but I know you can handle it. And if not, we'll give it to Brian because he's a little louder. But I don't feel that we as council members, just because we're elected, does not mean that we have to take what is really abuse from a resident. Now, coming and addressing concerns and changing policy, if there is a need to change policy, that is something that we do. But I don't think that we are a sounding block for personal opinion that they don't agree with. And so as far as the social media page, which I was on a talk on, the social media page, I helped start that years ago. It is a private page. It is not affiliated with the city at all. The owner of that page has, as a private page again, not a city page, does not need to allow anyone on that page that they don't see fit to have on there. The owner of that page has rules. I contacted him and asked him what he would want me to say to Maurice tonight. And he said that he had posted a few weeks ago, anyone who wanted to be on that page could not block any of the administrators from his page or his personally contact him. But he has done that to everyone. In addition, a few years ago, that admin also was reported to the sheriff's office. And since then, there has been quite a bit of, I don't know what you would call it, but not good feelings between those two. And because of that, he's not allowed on that page. And he's been told that. But because he's blocked, the admin cannot convey that to him. And so the harassment continues. He has his own page, which Janet will discuss next, where he can voice his opinion to the city members who want to be a part of it, but he is not entitled to be on any private entity page.
They get to you.
I'm fine.
Janet's welcome to go next.
I'm fine.
You know, I said my piece there with Maurice. You know, I do want to apologize that he feels attacked. You know, I have never sat in a meeting in this city, and I feel like I sit in a lot of the meetings, that there has ever been any feelings of animosity towards Maurice, any feelings that we have, decided to target him in any capacity. There has been feelings at times, and I would reflect these as well, that there is an overabundance of city resources that are currently being tapped to meet his ever growing set of demands. The city expends a large number of funds and resources to try and assist in any capacity we can. And we are always trying to help every single resident of our city, whom we love, hence we do this service, in a capacity that we can do assist. But we also have to be so careful, and I think this comes back to Maurice's point, that Maurice, he declares certain things as truths without allowing the due process to take place to find out if it is true, and then demands us to apologize for things. And if we do apologize for something that just because we feel it would be nice to apologize, it ends up coming back to bite us in the butt because we are being declared that we are admitting that we did something wrong, and then it's used against us. So it makes it hard to show graciousness or, you know, civility when that graciousness is then thrown back at us as proof, quote unquote, of guilt. And so thus it makes it difficult. From a legal standpoint, we have to be very guarded in our words.
Just sit
And
in
so
the
we
hot
want to be
seat.
very careful. So,
Just sit in the hot seat.
yeah. But yeah, that's all I have.
Okay, thanks. Hey, Janet, and welcome former Mayor Bray.
Can I defer to her? Do you want to go since you just got here?
Well, there were some fireworks.
Okay,
Well,
I'll
yeah,
give you a minute.
Well, yeah, I want to let the council all speak, so, and then we'll
Okay.
get to.
Um, just, you know, the accusation that I'm not transparent, I'm the most transparent person at a fault to myself. So one of my duties is public information. And so I do try to monitor the Facebook pages. And I try to let a lot of things go because sometimes when you respond, it just starts with a tit for tat argument. But sometimes when there are gross misrepresentations that are on there, I feel like I have to look up the information, make sure I'm right, and respond. And sometimes I'll reach out to the mayor and say, hey, can I respond to this? Or should I respond to this? And then I do. Because of that, I've had messages, private messages and texts from several citizens who have said that they are very, very confused. They don't even know which page belongs to the city and which page belongs to the community because Maurice has labeled his page the official page. And it was not labeled that way until we made the community page change to say not an official page, and then we put official page on the city page. At that time, he changed his page to say official page, and that caused a lot of confusion. We did reach out to the county attorney who said it could be a civil matter, it's not criminal. But we reached out to our attorneys because we've had citizens that were confused. I had a citizen who's fairly new to the community who said to me, please tell me that that's not the city's official page. And I said, it's not. It's made by a citizen who has grievances and he likes to air them out there. And she said, oh, good. I thought our city was taken over by a monster. And that is not the impression that we want citizens, new citizens in our community to have. So I said I actually had to take screenshots and I said, this is the picture with the flag. I sent that to her and I said, this is the official one. And she couldn't even find it. When she searched it, it didn't even come up. All that came up was his page. It took a minute. And I think that's probably because she'd been interacting with his page. But I got her straight and we got her set up with the right pages. But I'm not sorry that I said that his page should be shut down. I'm not. So I did retract it because the county attorney said it's not criminal, but I still believe it's not ethical. And that's all I got.
Thanks, Janet. Brian?
So again, I want to really apologize for yelling. I don't normally do that.
I think
What
that
really
it
upset
bears
me
passion.
was I have a problem with people that lie. And and as he was attacking you, saying he gave evidence, that obviously really, because there was no evidence. There was no evidence given. There was accusations. There was whatever, but there was no evidence. And then he wouldn't let me talk. And I was going to talk. So again, I apologize. And I have never talked with Maurice face to face. That's the first time. I think I've seen him here at the council one time, and I've been coming for over 3 years. And I've never been on his page, won't be on his page, don't have any plans to be on his page, so I've not been banned from it. Just so that's, and just so everybody knows, I've never had a discussion with him before, except for through the Facebook page. And I made sure that it was through the Facebook page and my answers were public to everybody who actually saw his questions. And that was before I was elected, but I still stand by everything that I said there.
And I just have one short thing.
Thanks, Brian.
If one of us responds any of us, it starts a fight and it goes back and forth. And so when he sends those emails, if someone else is responding, I step back.
Same here.
Even though I probably have responses and I have opinions, I step back because I don't want to pick a fight. I don't want to pick on him. I don't want him to feel, if 5 of us jump in, he's going to feel ganged up on. And that's what I don't want for any of our citizens. And so when he says that we don't respond, if one responds, I'm backing off because I don't want it to feel like a pile on.
And I feel like the mayor usually is the one that needs to respond because most of the attacks or the concerns deal with personnel and or city business rather than policy.
Well, this last email was actually, he's trying to
Yeah.
get us to do something.
I actually liked
So-
the positive in the beginning approach of it. And I actually, instead of sending things through the keyboard and being a keyboard warrior, I was actually proud of him that he came to talk to us tonight in person, face to face. I wish that it wouldn't have gotten heated. I wish that he wouldn't, I wish he would have been willing to listen.
Well, Wendy, I want to give you an opportunity too, but the only thing I'm going to say about this whole interaction was that I said it before. I mean, what you are doing is the sacrifice play, and so it's troubling to hear it characterized in such a negative light. But I think that just trying to bring this back to a positive take. I mean, it's just very easy to criticize everything and do nothing. But I think that what you are all doing it's the sacrifice play,
Does
and so
anybody get any benefit from being on the council? I haven't seen it. I've only been here a year, but I mean, we're trying to help.
yeah, no, I agree.
I mean,
Get a headache.
I'm here because I love my community and I'm trying to protect it.
Amen. All right, Wendy, I don't know exactly what you heard. There were some accusations that were made against you, and I think that I found it. I guess if you've got a transcript there that.
Yes, sorry. Jody just handed me one. I'm just briefly reading through this. I'm very sad that he is as frustrated and has stayed as frustrated for as long as he has. That's a tragic place to be. There was I did quit communicating with him also at one point because it always seemed to make everything worse. It didn't. But one of his frustrations was that we didn't respond to things that he said, and he always did. Not just him, because many of them were personnel matters. And once it becomes a personnel matter, it's between you and your employees, and it's not his purview anymore. And anything that he complained to us, made complaints to Doppel. We talked to them. We worked with them. So he felt like he wasn't getting responses because he wasn't getting the responses. But the city actually responded to everything we did, and there was no conspiracy. I mean, for Pete's sake, I agree with you, Mayor Wendy, or I think it was Brian that said, I mean, what do we get? We love the city. That's what we get. We serve our friends. And it's a pleasure to serve them. And it's tragic and somebody's so unhappy. So I'm sorry to hear that. And there's a lot of illegality going on in this building.
You're on 3 or 4 pages.
Yes, I am.
you have enough cuffs,
Along
Garrett?
with many of my friends. So. Anyway,
Well,
thank
thank you.
you for all you guys do.
Well, and thanks for what you did as well, and that it's undeserving of the kind of attacks that we heard tonight. So
Some people get frustrated, and he did some things that impacted my family that made me upset that I didn't think I'd be reasonable and I talked to him. So that was also, that's a flaw in me, but as opposed to lighting into him and saying personal things that shouldn't have been said, I just kind of shut down and asked other people to communicate. So, he has some, fair enough, frustrations with me, but that's what you get when you have to deal with a human.
I was just going to say we're all humans and we all know our weaknesses, so we try to
So
be quiet when we
So there
should.
we are. And can I just hijack this meeting for just 1 minute?
Well, it's already been hijacked once.
Because I'm here.
Yeah, no.
Well, I
think
just-
that,
You gave her the microphone.
So in the first, I'm just here to say thank you to all of you for all you do. And there are more of you out there, you know, that are at every single meeting and serve.
Monica, right?
I'm talking, yeah. totally.
Monica used to be the thing that kept our meetings short, but it's wearing off.
yeah, even Monica doesn't have the power to overcome this one.
But, and in the vein of done is better than perfect, and I have to add on my part, done and late is better than perfect. I can't get my act together, so I brought.
Oh.
And they're not big, but anyway, you can choose your pick your poison.
Oh, boy.
But
Thanks,
I just
Wendy.
wanted to say thank you and how much I and so many of the citizens appreciate what you do. And what I found when my term ended is that people thanked me a lot more when I wasn't in the trenches, which is odd. And they talk really nicely about you, but probably not to you. They probably talk to me. So just know that the sentiment that I get from people, and they have no reason to make stuff up at this point, is that you guys do a great job. And thank
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank
you.
you.
Anyway, so,
I didn't get you anything.
hey, you're serving as the mayor.
Yeah. All right, well, moving on. Snowplow update.
Number
Thanks,
2.
Wendy.
Oh, I'm a big part. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
And now I'm going to officially talk. And before Wendy leaves, Wendy, thank you so much. I just remember being at her house with her and Rick and working on some wood stuff and doing things. But you know what? 25 years of being here. It's people like Wendy, Rick, and all of you. So before she gives you your gifts, I want to say as well before I destroy this, thank you. You know, sacrifice. I got the easy job. I just drive around in the middle of the night, and I am blind to people's comments, but I do not care what they say. I just plow.
Correction, you don't have the easy job.
I just plow. That's all I do. I just plow.
I can get you worked up. Are you ready?
David runs the midnight to 6 a.m. shift. So
And when it's supposed to snow, I do wake up every hour to see, so I go out to make sure that when the roads are turned over to Ben and John, they don't complain about it.
we
It's
do.
all ready to go.
We
And I'm
still
going to
do.
stand up because I've been sitting all day. Okay. Where was I in?
Snowplow
Snowplow.
report.
Snow plowing, that's right. Oh, and Wayne, everybody back there, please go. Okay, all right. So I did wear my Santa Claus gift, just so you know that I was born and raised with snow in my blood. I was born in Hancock, Michigan, which is in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which is what's called the Kingstown Peninsula. Google it if you'd like to know how much snow you get on average.
So you,
I was in a spot where we had lake effect, where the average was already 200 inches to 300 inches a year to begin with. I have shoveled 5 feet out of our driveway as a little kid. Okay, so there you go. That's why I wear my Michigan Tech hockey jersey. Thank you, Santa. Just so you know. So, okay, just some fun stuff here so far, just for kicks and giggles. We've had 21 storms with 22 days of plowing, okay? From a storm count, that's about on par with 2 years ago when we did the 22 to 23 season. We had a lot of snow. We've had about half of the amount of snow that we had that year up to this point. We've had 54 inches so far. So that's 4.5 feet. And I measure it at what I call mid-mountain, so the elevation of the city center. And I have a very specific scientific way I do that. I have a ruler, okay? I know it's crazy. I put it in the snow undisturbed, and that's how I do it. So it's kind of fun. Okay. And I've been doing that for a bunch of years. Okay. The snowstorms so far have been from skiff to 11 inches, just for fun. And then the drivers are split into 3 shifts, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's the long shift. And we do have some people that rotate in and out of that as needed. So thank you so much, because I know that that's kind of disruptive to people's work schedules and stuff. Those from 6 p.m. to midnight, and then the easy side of it from midnight, 6 a.m. when I don't have to deal with a lot of drivers. Okay. There are 8 active, very active plow drivers. There is one active on Saturday and Sunday, and there is a retired one this year because he decided to get his nursing degree and start at IMC early January. So congrats to our youngest son. There's also a bunch of drivers like Brian, which is a backup, if you will, because of schedule. So I always appreciate those. We are going to be training 2 new drivers here actually tomorrow. No, Thursday. They will we start them out in a very simple procedure. They go through a bunch of training, so I'm going to talk about that real quick, and I'll go very quick. We actually have a, yes, Janet.
Can I request a ride-along for a very difficult citizen that I happen to be married to? He needs to go, he needs to go on a ride-along with one of the snowplow drivers so he can have a better appreciation, and so I don't have to continue to hear about it.
You can hear about it because I hear about it too. I just ignore it.
Oh,
I volunteered, Joe.
But you do live in a very interesting spot,
Yes, you do.
as do several others. Okay, they are interesting. Okay, I'm just going to say it this way. Everybody thinks that snowplow drivers that you're in these trucks that are perfectly solid on the road. We slide first. We wear Depends. Okay. And we're the first ones to go sideways, going backwards. And we don't want to talk about some of your roads sometimes. Or yours.
oh,
I don't want to go that fast. We enjoy what we do because hopefully by the time that we're done changing our attire, the others can get to and from where they're at. Okay. I can tell you all kinds of stories. Just to put it this way. We get stuck first. Things such as that. Okay, any other questions on that comment? But
No.
yes, always happy to do it.
I'll reach out to maybe John and see if we can.
John would do it.
Always, and by the way, we always have to do it. I think I changed David Pratt's perspective and some others by being right along.
I did one and it was
Yeah, and
been a while for me.
it's been a while. But anyways, we're always happy to do it. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Oh yeah, from the training perspective, we have 6 parts of training. One is a class where we actually go through some miscellaneous training. Okay, it's in the class, if you will. It's got a lot of information in it about things to do and not do. We actually have videos for certainly new drivers, but videos that they can watch. We do an in-equipment training with another person. Then they are to go out in the trucks themselves, not during a snowstorm, to learn the roads. And there's certain reasons for that because there's little areas of the roads that cause damage to the trucks if you are not familiar with them. You might not realize that when you're driving through them with a car. Then, during a storm, they are to go out as a passenger with a driver, and then they are to be a driver with a driver and a passenger. Okay, so that's the training, just some miscellaneous things. We have 3 routes. We actually have laminated sort of routes in each truck. They're very, very specific. We have 3 routes. We call one the upper route, one's the lower route, and then we have the cul-de-sacs. The new trucks are working well. There are a few sensor type problems, but for the most part, even like the old ones, even when they had problems, they still stay on the road. We learned from the last ones, we've actually had less problems with these ones, but still there's some warranty things that do need to be addressed. Let's see what else. Okay. These are just fun little technical things. The spreaders and bins, just for fun, they initially had to be tweaked a little bit. They actually caused some damage to them, if you will, because they got caught up underneath the lip. Those have since been rectified. And just little things like that happen that maybe nobody even knows about, and nor should they know. It's constant. Whether it's a hydraulic hose breaking, well, who knows what it is. It's a cover on a manhole that gets, you never know. Hitting one of those is always fun. I think I lost my dentures the other day. 2 pieces, bolts being sheared off. Just think that that's all magical and it just all works. Okay. The salt shed, the blocks have been removed. I'm just telling you guys this stuff just for informational purposes. The blocks have been removed, so now we can actually get at the salt that was there. The conveyor and certain electrical things that are no longer operational. It's probably, you guys are probably going to discuss it or have at some point. So we are manually loading the trucks, and per Ben's instructions, we are not to scratch the truck by loading it manually. Okay?
Because I'll never hear the end of it.
You never hear that either. And then also dumping the salt in it. You don't want to necessarily damage what's called the grates on the top. Anyway, so you have to pop the joystick. Just little things like that we are constantly discussing so that we are trying to be as efficient as possible and not causing any damage. Let's see. Just some additional items, and then this is all I got to say, is safety is in this priority. Drivers, get out of the truck. I don't care. Right? Just let the thing go crash on the beam. I don't care. Then the trucks. Okay. Once you're safe, then the truck should be safe. And then the roads, and by proxy, all the triggers. In that specific order, that's the way that I think of it. With something very specifically in training. Safety versus happy. Okay. Methodical versus random or reactionary. And efficient versus helpful. That might be kind of callous. We are not here to be helpful. It's going to get stuck. We're here to build the roads so that 1,500 people and people are going to do money. So that might be come across a little callous, but that's the way we have to think about it. Because otherwise, we're going to end up in a loony bin. Okay, we're going to end up in straitjackets on some kind of medication because we've been stressed out of our gourds. All right. Okay, this will be kind of a joke, but not really. The driver that is in the service truck when that thing dies, as a city council, you need to give them an award. Okay, just because they were the person that helped end its life. As long as there's no
As long as
accidents,
their life.
as long as they're safe. Okay. Now, granted, every moment that we can get out of that service truck, they'll save the days. But hopefully, you know, I was talking to Ted though, and I'll just say this: there needs to be a very specific platform to go through. There needs to be a certain size because there are a lot of non-cul-de-sacs that we as cul-de-sacs in the city that even plug in around the state. The plowing equipment, because I've already said this in the past, but I'll say it again. It needs to be, in a sense, used for a period of no more than 3 years, and I'm talking every piece of it, and then refreshed because it gets beaten no matter what. You're trying to be really careful with these trucks by cleaning them off as much as possible because any salt left in them, especially if the auger, causes all kinds of, I was going to say elder breakers, but that's not what and then as a city council, you probably should start looking at rotating one of the big trucks in 2 years. So in 26. So whatever your budget cycle is. I know that would kind of get one out of sync because then you're going to get rid of one kind of a year earlier than the 3 year lease. That way then we're always hopefully catching at least one truck. That's up to you. I know it just be a recommendation. At the same time, they need to have a similar platform. It doesn't have to be the same type of truck, but it has to be a similar platform so that we can put the big blades on them and also have between 4.5 and 5 yards of salt. Okay.
Hey, Dave, if you have time tomorrow night, could you join us in the Finance Committee meeting? We're going to be discussing this.
Sure. Just send me
7
some
o'clock.
information. I'll try. I've got different presentations. Like one of our C-level something. So
You can join by Zoom on your phone if you
sometimes
need
it
to.
might be like that. So I will do if I can, but otherwise, occasionally I have to actually do it. Let's see. Some other nuances. The big trucks rarely go on the service truck route for a specific reason because as they stay in motion, they're plowing. Every minute that a plow is down, up to 1/3 of a lane mile is not being plowed. So 1/3 what that means. Every minute that a plow is not on the road, it is literally 1/3 of a mile. That means if there's any breakage, if anything like that getting stuck, all of a sudden, there are specific priorities to the roads. They're called what we call the mains. Within his drive, Oak, and Summit. Then there are what's called the main arguments. And also those that are kind of steep like Janet and okay, Broad Hollow, obviously, Sky Lake. You have then the bus routes. So we actually have a rhyme or a reason for what we do, not just some random. It's about patterns. It's about efficiency. It's about trying to make sure that we're all safe. Okay, that's all I got to say. And so you guys have any questions? I could see all kinds of stuff. I keep all kinds of stats. I'm trying geeky crap like that, analytics and things like that.
I just wanted to say thank you to you as well, because I know it's hard to not only get everybody organized and get the plows done, and we don't always know when it's going to storm or how much, and yet you're always there. One of the things I notice when I'm talking with other cities is they're always in awe that we start our plow service before the first flake hits the ground. And we continue 24 hours to keep our roads safe for people. And we do it with volunteers. Both of those things are unheard of in our state. Most people wait until the snow stops before they plow. They don't plow every road in their city. They only plow the mains. And so I hope our residents really recognize the service that has been given. And I know most really, really appreciate you. I really do, especially in my corner when it's nice. I can go down, feel comfortable with that. So I just wanted to say thank you from myself as a member of the council, but also for the citizens in general as they call and text and say thank you. The only thing that I think that residents would still like is to have a camera back up at the here to see what the conditions are so they know what to prepare for coming up. Other than that, which is not your responsibility, but it's ours. But thank you.
I'm going to say this because it says something about snow. So it was a kind of cool experience. I'm going to tell you. Occasionally, I text my kids because some of them know. There was something magical. Was it yesterday? It was perfectly clear sky. And yet there was a piece of crystal snow that's coming down. That was magical. I loved everything. And you know what? Like being what I would call a Bonnie Ladies UK, if you ever want to do what that means, okay, is, you know what? I grew up with snow. I love snow, but I do like warmth too. Just so you realize that we plow, just for kicks and giggles, 7 to 8 months out of the year. Because you'll have an early one and you'll have a late, kind of sick, kind of demented. And I've been thinking about that lately. We really only have a few months that we don't plow. I mean, in a given month. So just some little tidbits that are sort of interesting. I do actually very little. It's Ben and John and everybody else that actually does most of the plowing. I just get a bomb around the middle and nobody's.
That's why he loves the blue skies and snow. It's not his ship.
Yeah. But I will say that it's the other day, it's not going to be okay. Someone doesn't get to be shared and absolutely on this and I just think it made me feel ashamed of myself because I'm thinking, how can I get out of this community service that I'm trying to get into? And you guys,
You serve way more than I would ever do. So
no, but I just, it's something that makes me.
And you took your complaining citizen on a ride along, it sounds like.
I do a few times. They don't really complain. Here's the reality. When you
I'm
come out of
talking
your
about Jody.
driveway and you have like a black ice or something in certain very specific spots, it can be a little nasty. I know Brian and how he tries to go around the corner. There's some spots I really don't like. I don't like to be in the truck because I'm thinking to myself, please don't run out of salt. And that has actually happened to me a couple of times. That is not very fun. So we try to make sure that we don't. By the way, these new trucks, they actually tell you when you're out of salt. Okay, so pretty cool. So, yeah,
It's amazing.
But yes, probably come in certain spots. You know, those that live where those are, they know. Yeah, we try to deal with it.
But I know one of the worst spots in town, right? Perry. But I also know driving the truck. And there are times you go up on the Hammerhead on Upper Skyline. You go down Lower Skyline. You go down Oak Drive, and in a plow truck, and the pucker, it can sit there.
Yeah, that's a good way to say that, actually. So he brings up a good point. So there's a few little things that I'm not going to go into all the details of what we do or talk about. In certain grades in the city, one, it's about pressure on the brake, not hitting the brake. Okay? It's about the speed during certain grades. there's certain ones that we do not want to go over 10 miles, certain ones we do not want to go over 5 miles. Very specific. And just a little training this year that we've learned over the years is all plows need to take their intersections wide. I don't know why this happens, because the intersection corner likes to take the back of the truck and get it stuck. We've actually been exponentially less stuck this year. But you did these little nuances. Okay? So just things like that. And that keeps us on the road longer. And we're not off in the ditch.
And good tires.
And good tires. So thank
We
you for your
love
support. Thank you for all that
tires.
stuff. And we're happy to do it. How about that? The drivers are all awesome. And we're happy to do it. So.
If you hear a horrific sound in the middle of the night, it's the service
Oh my
truck.
gosh. Okay. I'm serious. There needs to be a service award to whoever's in that thing when that thing dies, as long as they're okay. You should literally wear earplugs, huh? And anybody that will around.
It's like right outside my bedroom window, and I texted Jody, and I'm like, "What is that sound?"
Just imagine being in it.
The
Yeah.
power steering went out the other day, and I drove it down to Craig's house to get it fixed because he flipped it for us in a matter of hours. But I was sweating by the time I pulled in to the front of his house because that sucker was so hard to just turn the wheel. Like it's a dinosaur.
It's
Dangerous.
And it's still alive
dangerous
somehow.
dinosaur.
By the
Well,
way, we do want it alive until we get a new one.
yeah, no, it's under consideration, so it should be before the council.
That's why Chris wants you at the meeting
Yeah.
tomorrow.
I certainly will try. We've got some, I don't know.
Guess you could get your
Imagine
backup,
that.
one of your backup snowplow drivers to go. Plead your case.
Only the ones I like, which is all of them.
all right
Thanks, David.
for
Daniel.
Daniel.
Yeah.
Hi, Daniel.
You came for a,
You got a good one.
Now he's gonna say, now the survey results make sense.
Okay, let's see. Can I share?
We needed chocolate tonight. But on Wendy.
I know. I'm thinking comfort food, comfort food.
Jody, give me let me share. Looks like it.
Yeah, I think.
Perfect. Let's do the labor.
We get a new sign.
That was an Eagle project.
I know.
It's a more divisive topic.
Mm-hmm. There are people who love it and people who hate it.
I like the concept.
Repaints it every year.
Really?
Uh-huh. He goes out and paints it every year because it was one of his scouts that made it.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty sweet.
I'm gonna stand as well.
Okay, just as long as you can, everybody can hear
Oh,
you.
that's a
And
good
that-
point.
But just hold it up to you. Which one
Well-
is working?
I don't know.
You're gonna have to sit down.
You go three and I'll sit
Both
down.
kind of work, kind of.
Sorry.
Keyword.
That's okay. All right.
I'll put this in your way though, because I'll eat the whole bag first.
Okay, so an update on the general plan. The survey we did in the fall closed in November. So the survey was, we had flyers and a QR code, there's a giant flyer at the Woodland Hills Days. We put a flyer at the mailboxes. I was in the newsletter. Kirsten ran it around town and put it on doors. It was on social media as well, on Facebook, on the various pages. It was on a project website and on the city's website, and we had a pretty good response. So we had 213 responses. There are approximately 360 households in Woodland Hills. We asked that it was one per household, but there are a lot of occasions when you have multiple households, one house and whatnot. So there's some discretion there. For the first about 80-90% of the time, the survey was limited to people who logged in with their Google account, and it was limited to one response per Google account. and I monitored that. It's at one point toward the end, we had a resident reach out and say it wasn't working, the authentication wasn't working, and requested that I remove that, and I did. And so I just kind of made sure that the results remained consistent after that point, and that it wasn't hijacked by any special interest. And I can report that the data didn't really shift. In fact, the data stayed very consistent from the very beginning all the way through. So by the time we had maybe 15, 20 responses, I didn't see too much variation in the what's the word I'm looking for, in like in the variation of the response, right? We also saw that in terms of demographics, it looks like it approximated the town pretty well. So you can see age, household income. There was a wide variety, and I was happy to see that. Sometimes we only have all the older people or all the younger people who are on social media, or the older people have more time, whatever it is, and we have heavily skewed data, and I don't feel like we saw that here. So I was very happy to see that. Also, in terms of location of the individuals who responded, we had nearly 100% of respondents as residents of Woodland Hills. So that was excellent to see. It says 99.5. There's only one person lives in Salem who took it, or Elkridge. I don't recall. Then the survey results were largely positive. I will say, I didn't put it in here, but one of the questions toward the end was an open-ended question, and the top response was appreciation, just a thank you to the council and staff for putting it together. I think there are like 15 different people who said that. So to reiterate what's been said earlier in the meeting, there are a lot of positive response, and you can see that in the survey results. So the first one, Woodland Hills being a great place to live, you see strongly agree and agree by far. Being optimistic about the future, you see people agree or neutral. What do people love about the community? And just so you know, this isn't all the data. I'm just kind of highlighting some of the data that I got here. But the things that people loved about the community the most was the outdoors and nature. Some of the other things were more mixed, but with these questions, this is what people love about Woodland Hills. That showed up in this data. It also showed up in the open-ended questions. So you can see connection to the outdoors and nature, 5 is strongly agree, 4 is agree. That's virtually everyone in town. And stewardship of the natural environment, as well as protecting water resources, protecting nature, those sort of things all scored very high in these types of questions. Where we didn't score high at all were some of the questions that deal with, I guess we call it kind of urbanization. So availability of commercial options, that is not important to the residents here. There are some people that came throughout the survey that would love to see more commercial options, that would love to see a mix of housing types and some townhomes or apartments, or just some other more urban development. But that's a minority, and that held throughout the day, throughout each question that touched on that subject. I would say it's about 3/4 to say keep it as it is. You don't want to see the commercial growth, and maybe a 20 to 25% that may be open to it and would like to see it. And you see that in these questions right here. Proximity to senior living. I thought there'd be a little bit more interest in aging in place, given the demographics of the town, and the data didn't really bear that out.
And I think we talked about that a little bit with the committee, was it says senior living, and they might consider that like in like a old folks home, right? What do they call those places?
Like an assisted living center.
Yeah, not even assisted living, but where it's like a full-on medical care facility rather than a 55 and older section of the community. Yeah, a nursing home, that's the word. And I think that's what people got out of that was, we don't want a nursing home there, but I think if we would have worded the question, would you be open to a 55 and older section? I think they would have said yes, because I hear it all the time. I want to still live here, but I can't, I'm a widow, and my 1 acre is too much and my house is too big, but if I had a little space, I would. So I think that question probably just wasn't worded quite the way that we thought it might have been.
Yeah, we had a couple questions like this, because there's this one, and then there's another one specific to the fields
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
the lower fields, that also asked about assisted living or whatnot, and it is kind of ambiguous. So when we do the follow-up well, not a survey, but when we do the follow-up public open house, what we'll do is a visual survey, and we can massage these questions a little bit more because now we know the points of emphasis, right? We know that we don't really need to ask about how much people like trails. We have that data, but the questions we'd have as we move along here, we're going to see that what to do with that property or with that area of town. I shouldn't say property, it's probably multiple properties, but what to do with that area of town isn't something where there's broad consensus. And so to understand that a little bit more is something we'll talk about at the open house, and we can do that through a visual survey and make sure that everyone's thinking about the right types of products, so they're answering those questions consistently. As the city grows, residents maintain the same level of service. That was very important to people, and they tend to be happy about the level of service they're getting and the facilities that the city has. And feeling connected to their community, I would say again, largely positive. There are some residents who don't feel as connected to the community in terms of wanting to be more involved in the community. That was kind of interesting to see that it's like almost an exact bell curve. Yep. Like almost
Leave
as
me
near
alone.
as you can get.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm over city volunteers, and I can tell you it's hard to get volunteers.
Well, somehow we need to find those 4s and 5s because there are people out there, but we already have them working.
Yeah, they're
57.
already doing it.
Well, they say they want to be more involved, whatever that means. So
Yeah.
that's what I would think. It's an ambiguous question, right? If you're constantly volunteering, you may want to volunteer, but not more. And so you put it as a 1 or a 2 because you're over volunteering.
Honestly, the people that get more involved in the community events, I think, are a lot happier and feel a lot more connected.
And we did have a handful of questions in here specific to the community events. We asked about Woodland Hills Days. We asked about Maple Fest. And the responses were very positive. People felt invited. They felt like they knew what was going on. They felt like it was very important to the community for both of those activities. So that was good to see that data. Probably backing up what you already see. There we go. Residents, for the most part, feel like they do know what's going on in the community. They are content with
Facebook groups.
yeah. So Facebook group were the top thing. So social media is important. Yes. Yes, but the 72% of respondents at Facebook was one of the top ways they had.
Well, somebody's
got
reading my
information.
newsletters. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
Right?
I thought newspaper was sort of strange. We don't really get a lot of newspaper coverage.
Well, it says /news outlet.
Right. So that would be, what would that be? Payson Chronicle or?
It'd just be those
Daily
times
Herald,
that the mayor's on
KSL.
TV.
Yeah, I know. I think that's
Yeah.
2.4% right there.
But for the most part, I would say this is positive. People feel like they get the information they need, and we don't see that in all communities. That was really good. Being satisfied with recreational opportunities, we see that a lot of people are satisfied, but they still would like more. They'd like additional trails. Big question is going to be how to do that, and I know you're looking at trails plans. That's something you're undertaking. We'll make sure that gets integrated with this general plan as much as possible. Woodland Hills Drive was one where residents just don't really know what direction to take it. I think we're all hoping that there'd be maybe a little bit more guidance here, and instead we see just a plurality. So you see on that bottom question, what do you want? Is it paved? Is it nothing? Is it a sidewalk? Is it an unpaved trail? And I guess pick the poison, right?
Paved or nothing.
Yeah. And even the others have a good amount of people responding. So, yeah. The city park having the amenities that people would like. You see, again, for the most part, yes. When it comes to additional amenities, pickleball was the top one, some trails, some mountain biking. But none of those were, necessarily off the charts. While pickleball was probably the top typical park activity, only people voted in. So I don't know if that means continue to go out and do it immediately. But
Nobody wrote it down.
some people may have, but it would have been fewer than. And there may have been 3 people. Code enforcement. There were a lot of different opinions on code enforcement. So code enforcement is important, but not to everybody. So you see right there on that top question. I thought that second question, there are actually, I think, maybe 4 or 5 questions in the survey about code enforcement. But that one that's on the bottom, I thought was the most interesting. That people don't really know what to do about it. They don't know where to submit the violations or really understand what the process is. So that's something to. Oh, sure. Yeah. Code enforcement section, yeah. TED Talk, pitching the sleep. Yeah. So as we look at the strategic plan, maybe there's a discussion there to try to increase understanding and awareness among citizens. And I don't even know what your process is. Dark skies, I know it's important to a lot of people here that showed up in the data. So the first one says dark skies are important, but the second one is about whether the city should take proactive steps. And yes, there is a contingency that says no, but it is quite a minority. Now, we saw a little bit more variation in the data when we talk about what those steps should be. So it seems like there's consensus that we like it. It's probably a big part of what makes it nice to not live in the middle of the city, right? We're away from the sky glow of Salt Lake. We're away from the sky glow of Provo, Orem, and people like that. But what are the next steps? There were a lot of questions. I think I had maybe 6 or 7 questions about dark skies in the general plan. And so I can put all the questions in a more readable format. I have all of them right now, but some of them I need to go and manipulate the data so it's understandable. And then I can send that out to everyone if you guys would like that. Then this is specifically about those lower fields. And this is where I thought the data was really interesting. I feel like there were 2 different camps, and that carried through all maybe 8 questions or so that were in the survey about this area. So is it a good location for retail or business? Yes and no. And what about a mixed-use Main Street style development? I tried to come up with a term of art that encapsulated what we were thinking. So Main Street style development. I bet people pictured it differently. So we can again do a visual survey in the open house and try to iron out what it is that is going to draw out the pitchforks and what it is that would draw some consensus as you look at that area. Not that everyone has to agree, but you can see right here that the camps are on polar opposites. And so it'd be nice to try to do a little bit of consensus building.
It might be interesting too to see what the demographics are on that in terms of age.
Yeah.
Because I think our younger residents want more activities, but finally there are older residents kind of like it the way it is. So maybe even distinguishing that as we flesh it out in the future.
I believe I can stratify the data, so I can take a look at that. That's very interesting. Supporting a limited number of townhomes or apartments, we see a consensus there. No. Also wanting senior living, assisted living facility in the lower fields, no. But again, as Councilman Malkovich mentioned, that may be understood differently by the different respondents. Okay, and those are all the survey questions I put in this presentation. But those are some of the key things. Or maybe remember the number of questions, but probably double or triple the amount of questions as you just saw. So I can put that together and send it to you.
Gives us a good start.
Yeah. So moving forward, we'll be working with Kirsten and the committee I've started drafting the portions of the plan, like the demographic section, the overarching section, all that. And then I'll start working on the land use, and then we'll start working with the committee to fill in the gaps, and then we'll set up a public open house, do a visual survey, we'll share the results, we'll have more follow-up questions, and we'll work with the committee in terms of what exactly to discuss at that open house. And then as we start to really iron out what's going to be in the general plan, then we'll start thinking a lot more about the strategic plan. The strategic plan consists of the more immediate goals, the 3 to 5 year goals, where the general plan is your 20 to 30 year vision. So we want to see what our big vision is, and then that will help us understand what do we really need to be working on more immediate. So that's what we'll be doing in the coming months.
So you're going to put this together for us with
Yeah, I do that.
all the questions and even your open-ended questions?
Yeah, yeah.
I would like to see even more of those.
Yes.
Some of those, people might not have thought of basketball. But you know, it'd be good to see all those open-ended answers, so that we can, you know, it might spur something that we hadn't thought of.
The open house, do you anticipate that being?
I would think maybe February. So that's a pretty fast timeline. February or March. Yeah. So we'll talk about it February or March. So we'll
Look at the calendar on the webpage.
yeah. Good time. And that's a good point. Make sure it gets noticed out. So probably March. That way it can be in the newsletter, the February newsletter.
Facebook, remember no one reads the news. Oh, wait, no, some people read the newsletter, but most people read Facebook.
Most read Facebook.
And
We'll
it
make
might
a
be,
Facebook post.
it might be good to connect it with, like we've done in the past with the town halls, have this and be right before a council meeting. And that way more people are aware of it.
Good
And just kind
suggestion.
of tone down the council meeting for that time to be just a few things and maybe that this week, because it's already on this calendar, it's already on our calendar. Don't have to redo things around
Yeah, it's a good suggestion.
the schedule.
Okay. Well, thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Kirsten, for your efforts here.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
We're burning through this.
I've been excited though to see the results, so thank you.
Already to number 4.
2 hours and number 4.
Yeah, number 4, but
Think
the
I'm
rest,
ready.
we should make short work of it. I asked Mike Taylor to be here tonight, but I have to serve for another term. Too, so
another term.
It was a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does do a great job.
And thank you to Mike.
Hear this, I did want to express thanks.
I'll tell him tomorrow.
That's true, yeah, you'll be meeting.
Yeah, I'll tell him tomorrow.
All right, appointments to the Parks, Trails, and Recreation Committee. Brian?
So Sherry, I had reached out to Dennis and,
Dennis who?
Lisenby
Oh.
and, what's his name? He's expiring as well. To see if they wanted to stay on. Have you heard from them?
Slater?
Slater, yes.
Yeah.
Have you heard from them at all? You're on mute if you're trying to talk. She might have stepped away.
She might have stepped away.
So I've got 2 committee members that are have expired, and so I've reached out to them. I'll reach out again. And we still are looking for another.
She said, I can't unmute. Jody muted me.
Jody muted her.
Did we put it in the newsletter that, in case anyone's interested, they could contact Brian?
We didn't. That would have been a good thing.
Maybe for our
Okay,
February
Sherry.
one.
Hi. Can you
Hey,
hear me?
Sherry?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
I do have a positive response on Dennis and Mike.
Oh, great.
And I found some incredible pictures that don't pertain to our trail that I thought I would put on Facebook, but I do have an idea for secretary and want to run it by the committee about this person, but someone was going to put it on Facebook, but I think that didn't happen, so I thought I would do it. I was going to do it today, but I'm not feeling that swift. But Dennis and Mike are a go to continue.
So it's not on for voting this time, so.
I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, so it wasn't put on the agenda to vote today. So we'll put it on and hopefully the other person, we can get that before our next council meeting. Whoever you have, if you've talked to them yet or not, so.
Sweet, because we're scheduled to meet PTR next Tuesday.
So.
Thank you for everything. It was a
You
hard
so-
meeting tonight, but you're getting through it great.
Thanks, Sherry. Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
Okay, item 6. Ben has generously agreed to another year of Mayor Pro Tem.
I wanted to be Mayor Pro Tem.
You got to drive a plow first.
Okay,
is that
never
the-
mind.
I appreciate Ben's
I didn't.
years, and so thank you. Recommend him for.
Thank you.
Okay. Study presentation and recommendation. Ed.
Anyway. So I just wanted to go through this with you real quick. I'll try to beat the snowplow update.
Where you got to stand?
He left though, so he didn't get to hear that. Time-wise, I mean, not in I mean, in excitement. It was more him, yeah, performance, yeah. We had our flood study completed. This flood study came from just kind of a quick, really brief history of how we started this. Some years ago, even before I went to work here full time, we had that flood that happened. It was in the spring after that heavy winter. We had all that water that run down Woodland Hills Drive, down Maple Canyon, to end up going all the way down, flooding a house down in the county. County came up and met with us and said, we'll take care of the lawsuit this time, but next time it's on you guys. So you got to do something about it. So we applied for funding to FEMA to help us do a flood study, and was awarded that funding, and then proceeded to do the flood study, and that just wrapped up. So I wanted to just kind of give you a quick preview of what the end result of that flood study tells us, and then maybe what some of our next steps are. Now, can you get the map up, Julie? If not, you can go to your packet. Oh, there it is right there. So our city basically has, and I'm a pointer, so I've got to sit here and try and be. What's that? I'll let Brian point for me. So our city basically has 3 major drainages. One to the left on the TV, which those blue lines, the heavy blue lines denote the drainages. So we got 3 drainages you can see there. Those are the major drainages in the city that take floodwaters through the city. Within those major drainages are what we call kind of the minor drainages, which are each of the individual drainages themselves. So there's 3 big flood drainages, and then there's the individual drainages within those big drainages. So when we look at this flood study, what we look at is what is the water that's coming out of those major drainages, and what does our city contribute to that? So the idea between cities containing their floodwaters within their cities is that anything that is what we call pre-development floodwaters, or things that we don't have to contain, those can continue to go downstream just like they have for thousands of years. And cities would have had to dealt with those whether we were here or not. Then there's the post-development flood, which is the waters that we contribute to it. So whenever we build hardscapes, roads, rooftops, stuff like that, it increases the amount of flood waters that leave our city. And that's what we're responsible for, was that additional increase of flood waters. So what this study did is it looked at these three major drainages, looked at what we are contributing to those drainages by way of floodwaters, and then we look at the routes or the paths of those floodwaters, how they leave our city, and then we look at ways to try and detain the waters that we contribute to the floods. And those waters are detained rather than retained, because you can slowly release them back out into the drainage again, back to their historical flow rates. So when we see those yellow odd shaped things, these are the ponds that are recommended to be constructed that would help us detain the water that we should be detaining in our city. And they're strategically put in drainages because that's where the floodwaters leave the city. So if you go down, if you look at the bottom of that, can you scroll down to the bottom of the page of that, Jody? Right there, you can see the three major drainages we labeled as the Loafer Canyon drainage, the Maple Canyon drainage, and the Central drainage. And they're just like you might think. The Loafer Canyon drainage goes off to Loafer Canyon, Maple goes off to the Maple Canyon, and then the Central is kind of the middle part of the city. So in the Loafer Canyon, for example, we are adding about 30 acre-feet of water through our drainage. So, no, sorry. The total we're required to retain is 39 acre-feet. We have an existing 9 acre-feet of basins in the Loafer Canyon. We've got 2 existing basins. Don't know if looks like they're kind of hidden behind the thing there, but on this map, 2 existing basins that are just off down in Summit Creek is where they're at. That were built with part of the Summit Creek development. They detain 9 acre-feet. We're required to detain another 30 acre-feet. Now, the drainage that comes out of, they call it the Richards Canyon, but it's basically that drainage that dumps out by our tank where we're planning the NRCS project. If we build that basin to the recommended design size of 30 acre-feet of our detention for that drainage. So we wouldn't have to build anything beyond that basin to take care of the Loafer Canyon. Right. So that basin plus the 2 that we already have takes care of that drainage, the Loafer Canyon drainage. There are some recommended improvements to one of the ponds that we're looking at right now that drain into Loafer Canyon, and Elk Ridge is asked us to help take care of our floodwaters that keep going down into Loafer Canyon. So we're looking at some specific improvements to one of the basins down there that would help with that. The central drainage, those 3 basins that are shown on the TV screen, those 3 basins, look on the chart, the central drainage is, we need to contain about 8.4 acre-feet. So between those 3 basins, those make up about, 8 acre-feet, almost 9 acre-feet, roughly. So we'd have to put 3 new basins in those drainages to help take care of those. And then lastly is the Maple Canyon. That's the largest of them, 47 acre-feet. And right now we haven't planned any basins in that drainage yet. Part of that goes over into will be the Three Bridges development. So we're working with Three Bridges because they're going to have to also detain waters to look at possibly building a basin that would handle our waters as well. So that might be, hopefully, if we can work with them and have them just plan for ours as part of theirs and maybe get that included with them so we wouldn't have to worry about it. So kind of our main focus priorities right now are on the one basin we have to improve immediately to help take care of the Loafer Canyon flood issues. That one's a minor improvement, so I think that's something we can take on pretty quickly. And we may have the help of Summit Creek because it's in Summit Creek, the basin is, although it's a city basin, but it affects them too. So I've met with them today. We've talked a little bit about what needs to take place there. We're just having our engineers put together a little bit of additional data that will help us get some more specific information, then go meet with Elk Ridge and give them a plan of attack. And then probably next we'll have to start focusing on some of these other 3 central basins. How we start looking at getting those included.
So what about the Willow Reed Basin that's there? I don't see it denoted on here as.
Yeah, and that basin is pretty much an insignificant basin.
Okay.
It's really nothing more than maybe slows the water. It's like a speed bump to floods.
Just for a little bit of extra.
Yeah,
runoff after snow.
right. It's pretty, and it's. I mean, it's one that really doesn't contribute a lot to that. That would probably be in the central basin area. Yeah, so it doesn't contribute enough to have to. And you know,
Would we need to maintain it after we did improvements? I mean, is that's a kind of the, you know, would that open that land back up?
yeah, it possibly. I mean, if we decide to use that, we'd have to look at how that. What would it do? Is it reduce one of the size of the others? But probably that's probably like a half an acre basin or something like that.
It's not big.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a speed bump type thing, but it's something maybe we can, as we get look into more specific details of these and sizing and locations, and that might be something we can throw into the mix and save us a half an acre foot or something.
Whether it's that or make the land usable, you know, and saleable. So
Yeah.
would be another option that could be possible.
I think that one was built specifically for that development area down there, not really a city type basin, but might can be thrown in as a city basin.
So what would you, go ahead, Ben.
Oh, do we by chance own this land?
Any of these where
Any
these
of
recommended
those
basins are?
3 there?
We do not. No,
Okay.
they're, I think Summit Creek owns some. I'm not, Hanks, possibly the other. And I'm not sure who owns that third basin area. But that's down a drainage. So it might be
That's
within a drainage
Shoemaker's.
easement that we would have, but
It's Shoemaker's property right there.
Number 3.
Yes, number 3 is Bill Shoemaker.
Okay.
the idea is that maybe on a few of these, we could work as they work on, like with Summit Creek, for example, as they work to develop that area down there, if they do, or the Hanks property starts to develop, we work with developers to get these basins incorporated into some of the developments.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And as far as like a timeline, I mean.
I think we're talking probably multi-years to get these. I mean, one is just the funding to build them, and getting the funding to build them, and how we set that aside, and then working with property owners to try and either acquire the property or work with them to get it an easement for that area from property owners or whatever would be needed. I think maybe our first focus would be on the one down in Summit Creek, because I think we could work with Summit Creek and maybe work something out with them as they continue to develop down there to work on that basin. And then just look at the other 2, I think, as we start to look more seriously into development of those areas.
And are they in developable areas? I mean, are they on basically properties that are single residence type properties and we would just kind of be encroaching on those? Or are they big enough pieces that, like, it's very feasible that somebody would want to subdivide it and use that as an opportunity to?
I think most of these areas are in areas where they couldn't build a house. They own the property, but it's a drainage where they probably couldn't build within. So as they develop around these areas, on areas where they can develop lots, we would ask them maybe to through easement, provide that to the city as an open space, because it can't be used for home building. And then we would build a basin or something.
But they're located within areas that likely they'd be subdivided and
Yeah, that'd be my guess. It's one of them, especially going down Summit Creek area. That will likely be developed eventually by Summit Creek, I'm guessing, down that lower part. Hanks at some point probably will be, but I think most of these basins will be in areas where they can't actually build houses, but they'll build around the area, and then maybe just get those donated as green space or something like that, or open space.
yeah, okay, great. Thank you. I should have just had you stick around, Ted, because you're on item 9, but get a little variety in the lineup, I guess.
I wanted to give you just kind of a heads up of some of the ordinances that we're working on. None of them are to be passed tonight. A good share of these haven't been seen yet by the Planning Commission, so we'll be reviewing them. We'll have a public hearing on several of them and then come back to you. So I just wanted to kind of inform you of this work, and I just touch on them a little bit. And if you have any questions outside the meeting here, I'm happy to talk to you about them. The first one there is the one that you tabled back when, having to do with retaining walls. I've done some tweaking to that, a little bit of changing. I've talked to Ben and got some input from him on it. But take a look at it, and if you have any further questions, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them for you. Again, this will go back to the Planning Commission for their review as well. We're in our ordinance. The approval of fences is with the Planning Commission, and I'm suggesting that be changed to approving official, which right now is me. It's a code enforcement officer. I'm the one that reviews those together with our technical review committee if there are other issues involved. So that's what that one proposes. Generally, is that remove the Planning Commission from the approving to the code enforcement person. Also having to do with that fencing, we found a little bit of a loophole in there that in red, you don't want those kinds of fences, a flower bed, that somebody put up a 8-foot fence in the front of their property because they got a garden there. We're limiting gardens to the side or back of the home. So that's what we hope that will accomplish. We prohibit barbed wire fencing. We've got a lot of barbed wire fencing on farmland, and so we're making for if there's an enclosure just for livestock, they can use barbed wire fencing if they want to do that. So it's part of our kind of tweaking of our fencing ordinance a bit. We've had a little bit of issue with sport courts. We've had some people who built sport courts without getting city approval. And as you can see, the cross out part there, it was somebody could look at that and not understand it the way the city was understanding it. So what we're proposing there is that be changed, and that a sport court, we're talking about somebody's backyard. So we feel that a sport court can be any place on the backyard that they want, as long as it's not forward from the front plane of the home, and or on an easement. It can't be on an easement. So it gives a little more flexibility there, and we're suggesting, you may disagree, but suggesting that there isn't a permit required to put a sport court in the back of the yard. It's kind of tantamount to landscaping, except there's a fence across sport court, and with the idea of lessen the city's restrictions and so forth on something like that, give the homeowner flexibility to build a sport court in the backyard if they choose to do so. So again, these will all come back to you once they're finalized. We've also, on the next one on fencing, we're allowing razor wire. And barbed wire is already allowed, but where it's on city property and for security purposes, we feel that razor wire would be appropriate on the top of chain link fences and such. So we're adding that as well as the building material can be opaque. We can't look through it if the city chooses to do that. So gives them more flexibility with security with on city property to do what is necessary to do. And again, looking at instead of the planning commission to approve fences, approving official would approve them. There's one other one that we're working on that we will work on. I've just been working on it now. I'll probably show it to you in 2 weeks at the council meeting there. There's been a concern with people riding ATVs, UTVs, snowmobiles, etc. up in the park, both during summer as well as winter. And so we don't have an ordinance that governs that at all. So this new ordinance will prohibit those in the park unless approved by the city to do so. So it does. Yep. And if they get, you can.
Yeah, next spring.
Yeah. So we'll show that to you probably in a couple of weeks, just to give you an idea of the change there with that one. So I know you haven't had a lot of time to review. It was in your packet. So any questions that you've got, give me a holler. I'd be glad to answer. So
Thanks for paying close attention to that. Okay.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
that fencing or the wall ordinance. It was confusing. I think we were all confused.
That's really good. Thank you, Wayne.
yeah.
Well, that's why we made you table it, because I don't think we had a consensus of understanding.
Fire, Public Works, well, Wayne, okay, no code enforcement updates? Okay, I was gonna say, we can do this square dance all night, but it's just,
All right. So just quickly on our fire crew update, we'll give you a quick update on them.
I have a formal protest also with your picture.
With my picture?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what mine is, but so our crew is been assigned to the Palisades Fire. They're down in on the southeast edge of the fire, kind of in they're stationed right now out of Malibu area. They yeah, I know. John called me last night while they were eating dinner, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm sitting here on Sunset Boulevard." But he says it doesn't look like you would think it would. It's total devastation. Anyway, so they're assigned to that area down there. They are stationed out of, like I said, the Malibu area. They're with it's kind of the Utah and some of the Oregon groups that are together as task force down in that area. Santa Monica Fire Department's helping now manage part of the fire, so they're working under that incident command. Their division Juliet, and they worked about a 40-hour shift after first getting down there. And then they got a Sunday, they got a day off, and they're now a rotating 24-hour shift. So they're 24 on, 24 off. And they're right now assigned to structure, triage, protection. They're basically right now going through, after the fire blows through these areas, these residential home areas, they're going through after and putting out any hot spots and keeping everything down because of the anticipation of the high winds that are coming. They want to make sure everything's out so it doesn't start more fires. So that's what they're doing right now.
They're doing that. Law enforcement is doing that.
Yeah, they're doing. I mean, they've got National Guard down there. They've got all kind. It's probably the best way to describe it is a war zone. The devastation. I've been seeing some pictures. Yeah, the devastation is just incredible. Burning concrete houses and stuff like that. It's just hot fires. Yeah.
And, they said it was between 3 and 4 football fields.
Yeah, the fire was moving at 70-mile-an-hour winds, 90-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, it was blowing through there quick. But anyway, so these guys are 24 on, 24 off right now. They'll be down there likely the full 2 weeks. So they probably be down there to the end of the month. You're looking for our crew members. You can see John. You can see Lance in the Lance is the tallest one in the back with his hat backwards and sunglasses. John was John called me one day. He said, I'm sitting here at breakfast with over 1,000 firefighters and I'm the only one in yellow pants. So he's looking for green pants. He's the one there in the hat and sunglasses next to Lance. And then you'll see those two next to John in the yellow shirts. That's Levi and, Jessup. Levi's out of the Salem area, and then the other guy came out of Ogden area. They're people that one of them's a guy that Lance knew. He does fire with him, so he got on the crew. And then the other guy is actually his dad is the assistant task force leader of that task, and so he's down there with Provo Fire as an assistant task force lead. And then his son is on our crew, Levi. I think so. I actually took that off Cedar City's
They
Facebook
have
page.
so many rules. When Jamin was, when he first started doing wildland, I would post stuff sometimes.
Yeah, so
So
nothing
there's-
can get posted without approval of the PIO. So each task force has a PIO with them. And anything that gets sent out has to go through the PIO before it can be sent. I'm assuming this went through a PIO because it was actually, I got this off of Cedar City because Cedar City is down there with you. There are 3 Utah task force, 60 something firefighters out of Utah down there.
I just saw videos of people driving down.
Yeah, there's videos and drive. Someone had a gas station. There was another one I sent out today where there was a KUTV was down there interviewing the Sandy guy, and he's walking down, and you see our fire truck sitting there in the line, and they actually say Woodland Hills is down here. And, so there's been some news reports with our city, so it's pretty cool. I assume this, because it was posted on their Facebook, I'm assuming it went through a PIO before, because this had to have got sent from someone at the fire. John's taking a whole bunch of photos right now too, but he can't send them yet. Once he can send them, he will. What they tell people is you can show them, but you can't post them unless we approve it. So I'm assuming this one got approved. I'm hoping. When I looked at the caption on this, it says courtesy of CAL FIRE.
Okay.
So I'm assuming CAL FIRE took this, approved the release. So.
Text you later and ask, have you text me what I could put next to this.
Yeah.
Kind of where they're posted, maybe.
So working long days, but going, I mean, going well. And there's just thousands and thousands and thousands of firefighters. And, we're glad to be there to help out. I was glad we could get on this. This is under an EMAC contract, which is a contract that comes through the Division of Emergency Management. And it's a contract that is, you don't get very often because it has to be a very major event for us to get out under an EMAC. This is the first one we've ever been on since we started this program. And it basically pays 24 hours a day. Yeah. 2 weeks is their deployment, plus you get a couple travel days on either end. So I'm. It doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. Yeah. There possibly could. Depending how long the event goes, they could come back. They have to R&R for 48 hours, and then we would have to make sure the whole crew still wants to go again. If it's available to do it again. I don't know if it will be or not. 27th, I think, is when they can go out till. Is what the
John, is it worth
or the state guy said.
Is it worth driving the truck home or leaving it there until we figure it out?
Yeah, I have seen where they have just switched out crews and left the vehicle there.
Or they just speaking from experience, or they hotel them up for 48 hours. They let them do their laundry
Yeah.
and rest, and then they put them back on. But they usually tell them, right?
Yeah, and they can extend sometimes for a few days if they want. I know at least one of our crew guys probably won't stay and then try and do another 2 weeks. He'd at least want to come home. He may go out again, but or you can switch crews out. You can leave the vehicle there, send a crew down in another vehicle, a truck, and then come back and whatever. That's happened before, but we don't know right now. It has to come all through the state. So whatever happens.
So as a side note, that our neighboring cities do know that we have a truck out, and people, and we had a call the other day. We had incredible response. I mean, the guys were showing, it was on Sunday, and they were fully suit and tie underneath of their turnouts here because they knew we had a truck out. We're concerned that we would have difficulties manning calls. So Spanish Fork and Salem both arrived. We set one of Spanish Fork's truck. We turned them around at the
Ladder truck.
The cul-de-sac.
Roundabout.
One of their other trucks came up and an ambulance from Salem. So they're aware of it and they're ready to help
Covering us.
and cover it. So
Neat.
excellent.
And I've heard stories of trucks and water tanker trucks getting turned around.
They're rumor false stories. So that was put out by people from the fire. So I'm part of a chat group with our state.
Okay.
The state guy that's down there that's over all three of these task force is a state chief, who's with the Division of Emergency Management. Chet Ellis is his name. And he set up a group meeting with all the task force before leaving. And I got on that group meeting, so I see all their correspondence all day long. And he put out a little notice saying that those were rumors. There were rumors about Oregon fire trucks being turned away because they weren't passing emissions or weren't getting emission checks. All false rumors is what they're saying. Coming out of the fire
Actually
reports.
put up a rumor page because there's so many rumors coming out. Set up a rumor page. So check it first before you, just because you heard it on social media.
Yeah.
Check us first, and they're trying to combat all of those rumors.
Yeah,
There's
that
a
was
lot of fake
rumor.
stuff getting out.
They were very, very thorough on inspections. John said it took them a while to get through the inspection with our engine because they were just very thorough with them. So they had guys going through our truck, making sure everything was safe before they brought us into the fire. They stopped us. They had we'll call it an inspection point at about 2 hours away from the fire, Beaumont, and they were there most of the day getting their inspections and getting their orders all lined up and all that kind of stuff their first day. So.
I was just gonna say if that was true, how about ours?
Yeah. I was talking to Craig. I was talking to Craig Northrop last night, and he was, and he had heard the same rumors, and he's like,
mean,
"Man,
it's
it's probably a good thing you guys sent the engine you did. I'm not sure the other one would have made it through inspection."
If it made it to inspection.
Yeah. And to Brian's point, if you guys ever have emergencies on the weekend, about 8:55 in the morning would be a nice time to call. So if you can hold till then, it'd be sweet.
Chest pain.
Yeah, chest pain. Wait till 8:55, then call.
All right.
Public Works. The only thing, I don't think I've got anything to report on Public Works. The well project's moving slowly. We had a delay in the distribution panel delivery time. So it's probably going to push into late spring, the project. Not a whole lot we can do about that. There's just bad delivery times on electrical right now. We've got the pavement project ready to roll. We've got the contract done and everything. So when the spring hits, we'll be ready to do the pave project. And we're looking at, as Dave alluded to and was talking about, we're looking right now at a service truck and what it would take to replace our service trucks.
Good. Thank you, Ted. All right, reports, item 10. In the interest of time, I will just very briefly report on, we had a COG meeting last week, and there is a need for volunteers at the shelter. And so Janet and Jody, I think they sent me something that if you can put that on our social media page.
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
It's the homeless shelter.
Well.
It's the warming,
shelter,
warming
yeah.
shelters.
And that's all I've got.
Are you
Councilman.
gonna post that, Jody, or do you want me to?
I'll send it to both of you and then you two.
We'd like to coordinate so we don't both ready, set, go.
Yeah.
Let you
no,
do
that's
it. because you're going to do the,
Okay, well, I'd like to continue the mayor's trend on speed of reporting here. We haven't had a meeting due to holidays, so I have a board meeting here coming up shortly. Ted, did you by chance get the email for tomorrow's TAC meeting? Oh, good. Okay. So 11:30 tomorrow. You're good? That's fine. As long as one of us is there, we're good. Okay, that's it.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Councilmember Hutchins.
We haven't had meetings on either one. So I'll make it through.
All right, wow, yeah, we hold the record. Councilmember. He wins. Okay, Councilmember Lyon.
Just, I need someone to do the February newsletter and March. And I think, Carrie, did you take April or March?
did.
So Carrie has April, so I need somebody to commit to,
Okay, then I'll do March.
okay, and I always make
Remind me.
Doral do May because it's the fire one. So Doral gets May.
And I'll take June if that's okay because that
You did January.
I know, but I'm trying. My next one is a good spring cleaning one. And
Okay.
June's our spring, right?
If we're lucky.
Yep.
Late June. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you looking to dole out 2 assignments then per?
Yeah, it's 2 per year.
Okay, so what other one do you?
I can do July again. So I did December, I think, has been.
Failed.
He bailed. That was, yeah,
He's useless.
sometimes. So I need August, September, October,
I'll either do
November, December.
October or November.
I can do August.
Okay. And I'll put it in my computer crashed, but when I get it back, I'll put it in there. So, all right. So who has September? Laurel?
Yep.
And then who took November?
Me.
Carrie. And then that leaves December, which is okay. Easy. I just took the leftovers.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can do a nice Christmas message.
Yeah, I try. Yeah. So that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Carrie?
No, that's short is over for us because we did have a meeting. So, animal shelter, last council meeting, we had kind of a lively discussion about the cat neuter and vaccination return. TNR is what it's called. There has been some discussion throughout the county because the Provo Council looked into maybe doing it, but it was just pilot. They haven't approved it yet. They're still working on some things on if it's really what they want to do. The shelter, which I sit on that board representing our city, but other cities also were on that board, wrote a letter about it to the mayor, councils, and city leaders that I sent to all of your emails right before the meeting, as well as Dr. Thought, who is a very well-respected veterinarian in the South County and was on that board. He wrote his concerns about this program. One of the things that maybe people don't realize is that although Best Friend says that they will come in and pay for it and all this, it's only for feral cats, not for regular cats. If you had a cat, then you could not take it and get it straight in. It has to be a feral cat. And if I pick it up in front of your house, Mayor, it has to be let go in front of your house. Whether you want it or not. And so that's part of the program and part of the things that are coming out of that. Statistically, for cat, for Woodland Hills, last year, for year summary, we had 1 cat impounded. We had 19 that were brought in as strays, or a total of 20 cats. 19 that were brought in by other residents. So they're not really seeing that as an issue as much in Woodland Hills. Total animals that were impounded were 7. Dogs, cats, like anything else that. 20 were brought in as strays and 4 were considered feral. And so dogs, we had 6 dogs brought in, 1 was a stray. We don't have a high number. So again, some of the issues that get brought up with this TNR, which we really need to consider, and I hope I can talk over with this with Daryl, that Doral that we've talked about today, is what a lot of people don't understand is it's really taxing on resources for law enforcement to deal with that situation, especially if it's mandated. In addition, we're looking at for some studies on this. Now, a lot of people are thinking, is abandonment the issue? Are people creating artificial environments by feeding them, et cetera, that it attracts more? Liability, once the city has adopted this, the city is then liable for these feral cats. So it's not just that they're just wandering around free, and if they get in someone's boat and scratch up all the upholstery, if they do whatever, under personal property, liable for what these cats do. Some cities have considered doing a permit if you are mass feeding, or you're feeding a whole bunch of feral cats at the same time. But one of the biggest things is public health. Dr. Butt talked about the bird flu. So bird flu happens when regular birds are flying over, poop lands in the yard. Mostly other birds get sick. Meaning, if you have chickens in your backyard, they can get it. And if one chicken gets it, all of your chickens get it. Well, they found a year or so ago, it was getting transferred to cattle. And now in the last month, it's been transferred to cattle. And so that is a 60% death rate of cats. It's not transferable to people yet that they know of, although one person has died because of something with the toes. There's no evidence yet about the cat, but it was spread quite quickly through the cat population, and they've seen it in other states. Yes. It's all birds. All so our turkeys are at risk, but then could eventually also be contaminating to the cat. So they're finding mice that have it. The preferences of birds, the cat eats the mice. It's a perpetual thing, but it becomes that this could really become something that is a public health issue more than just work-related health treatment. Right now, only 5% of cats are being cleaned by their owners at the shelter. So people are trying to figure out what's our public health responsibility. Again, I will let you read the letter from the shelter board, which includes all law enforcement, sheriff's office, I'd like to quickly just tell you that the resident session does start on Tuesday. There's quite a few things that are coming up that we need to keep an eye on. One of those that's proposed is the building officials. Building officials will need to have 6 years of experience in the field and have 48 hours of training. There are several things about homeless and always, as we've been talking for a few years now, housing and housing options, zoning, etc. There is a bill on fluoridated water. I read a message that we don't fluoridate water. There's some people who would like also to have to fluoridate, and other people we want to not have it, right? So we will be, as the league, be saying no. That's the city's choice. There is also things with regards to parking. They want to do some statewide parking requirements for every city and by size of parking space. And some of them are tandem, where it's one in front of the other. Steamroller Row, others are Sunshine Side. And I said, why do we have to designate? That seems like that's an urban issue, not everybody else. Right? So we're going to be fighting against parking because we already have off-street parking. Many cities want no parking on private property and only parking on public property, meaning street. It's not good for it's not cost effective for someone in an apartment building to have to use all the land for parking instead of have it on the street. So there's a big issue there. Hopefully it doesn't go through. There's a state housing plan. We're going to do phase 1 will come out this Friday. Phase 2 is after this session. There's some things with labor supply issues and timeliness. So we're trying to work with the state saying, hey, it's not all, if you put that people aren't buying houses on all the cities. It is a market thing that we have no control over. Supplies, labor, price, those are not things we have control over. It's only zoning and the timeliness of us getting things done. They are looking at maybe changing some of the process to include, right now we have 14 days, but a lot of cities are saying they're getting incomplete plans. And then the builder is saying, okay, your 14 days has started, but it's incomplete plans. So they're going to maybe add 2 days for cities to have to say yay or nay, to reject or accept the plan before the 14 days starts, which I think this would be great. And then insurance issues, there's going to be some insurance issues. California is the #1 state for insurance issues with fires, and Utah's #2. And we noticed that a few years ago when our insurances were starting to get dropped. There's going to be a few privacy and grandma ones that are looking to update, and a lot of them have to do with the law enforcement. So I'm going to be asking you kind of what you feel about some of those that are coming up, because I know you're keeping track. But their privacy policy as it relates to law enforcement. And then the last thing is just there's 281 bills already, which is a lot more than any other thing at this time. There will probably be easily over 1,000 that we're tracking. So if you have concerns about any of them in particular, let me know and I'll keep an eye on it.
Okay, thanks, Terry. Jody, this Open Public Meetings Act training, how long do you anticipate that will take?
5 minutes.
How long you want it to take?
Is it done yet?
I'm gonna have to take a potty break.
Yeah, no, we'll take the break beforehand. I was just wondering if there was something, I mean, if you could dispense with it summarily, then, but let's not rush it. It's important, so let's get it right. So if you don't mind just holding off on the presentation there, we can at 8:50, and then we'll go straight from that from the city council. Oh.
I will go really fast. I promise, if the mayor will call the meeting to order, and I'm pretty sure that Chris can hear me right now. I hope he can. So.
Okay. Okay. I caught like 4% of what you said, so Ray should tell me again after. I didn't catch all of it. All right.
Loud
What
and
was that?
clear.
Oh.
Okay, thanks. Just make sure your mics are on.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right. Thank you, Jody.
All right. Every year, the council's required to do a Utah Public Meetings Act training. Most of the time we've done this I've asked you to do this online, but I just wanted to go over a few things as been some changes this past year. If I can get my screen to work. Wrong one. So, this talks about the Open Public Meetings Act and how you're governed. Meetings are to be open to the public unless properly closed. We've gone over the reasons why they can be closed before, but primarily it's for litigation, land acquisition, collective bargaining. Those are some of the reasons why you might close a meeting. What is a meeting? It's when the public body meets. It's not when you're at church and you're all going to a church dinner. It's not when you head down to the Utah Leagues of Cities and Towns conference and you happen to have 3 of you in the same class. That's not a public meeting, so that does not need to be noticed.
Can I state for the record that there's been citizens that have complained that they've seen 2 or 3 people talking at the mailboxes and therefore we've had a public meeting without noticing? Can we make it a public record that that's not
That is not a meeting.
Thank you.
That's a chance
encounter?
and it's not a meeting. And that's what it talks about this one. A meeting does not include a chance meeting or a social gathering. So please feel free to go to the mailbox whenever you want. And if you run into your neighbor or another council member, you're okay to talk.
Or at Woodland Hills Days when we bump into each other and we visit because we're also friends, right?
That's right. So you're allowed to do that. A meeting is solely for administration and operational matters where no formal action is taken or the matter would not come before a public body. So those are things where it's just chance meetings. You know, I don't think we need to talk about this because this is more about spending tax money and things, but it is in the thing. So presentation, so if you want to go over it. What is a public body? The City Council, the Planning Commission, Parks, Trails and Rec, Finance Committee, Public Works Committee, and the Community Development Committee. Those are all public bodies. While they may not be legislative bodies or decision-making bodies, they still are a public body. Which means an agenda needs to be posted at least 24 hours in advance. Our agendas need to be somewhat specific. You can discuss a matter that's not on the agenda, but you cannot take any action on it. So please be aware of that. And I think you guys have done really well at doing that. A schedule of regular meetings of the public body must be posted 1 time a year. We adopted a ordinance with the City Council public body. Also, and I'm going to toot my own horn here because on the city website, we do have a calendar and it is on there for the whole year. And it does show when all the meetings of each public body will be held. So we're really happy that that calendar is on there finally. There is a time where you can have a meeting without a 24-hour notice, and those are usually emergency meetings. Most of those have to do with either natural disasters or possible inability for a council member to function because of illness or having to go take care of a family member. And if you can't get a quorum, you can appoint someone to fill their role. Written minutes have to be kept. It goes through what the minutes must include, and it doesn't include any additional information requested by a member. So if, in this example tonight, we've had a resident who has requested that his information be included as part of the minutes, and they will be included as part of the official record of the city minutes. Approved minutes of an open meeting are the official record of the meeting. And minutes are classified as public under GRAMA. So we do put them on our website. We do put them on the state transparency website as soon as they are approved by the public bodies, and anyone can gain access to them. Meetings need to be recorded, and we also need to make that recording available within 3 days of holding a meeting. There seems to be some question if that's 3 business days or 3 days, because we work on a 4-day work week, 10 hours. So I did contact the state and they said your 3-day business days would apply. So we can have till the Monday following this meeting to get recordings made available. And we have them not only on our city website, but we do have a YouTube channel where people can listen to it. There is a policy to allow electronic meetings, especially since COVID, and the city council has adopted an ordinance allowing this to happen. And there's a reference of it, City Code 16B3. On the motions, these are just kind of a formality on some of the motions that you might make during a meeting. The one that I would suggest that we improve on is if you choose to table a motion, either say you're postponing it indefinitely or you're postponing it until the planning commission can come back with a recommendation, or at least let's specify a time when residents can be able to expect to hear that item on the agenda again.
So you're saying we should schedule it then when we table it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if you're going to just table it indefinitely because you decide, you know, it's not something I want to listen to or address anymore, or it's been thoroughly investigated, you can do that. Disruption of meetings. Someone can be removed if there's disorderly conduct. We've never had that happen in the last 20 plus years. I think the last time it happened was when we were down at one of the elementary schools meetings. So that might have been in 2001, Carrie, 2002. But it's been a long time. So I appreciate
Yeah.
residents.
Came pretty
When we
close.
didn't, yeah.
No, I
No.
appreciate residents conducting themselves and
Uh,
council
At a town hall.
appropriately.
We had a town hall meeting and we had to have a citizen escorted outside.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. We did,
Yeah.
but we did allow him to express his opinion.
yeah.
So,
Just
yep. Sergeant Dudson says that was his welcome to Woodland Hills moment.
Yeah.
You
that
know,
was-
we have to make things exciting around here. We don't want to, make it too easy on them. Closed meetings. The decision to close a meeting is discretionary. You do need to have a roll call vote on it, and it needs to comply with state statute to close it. 2/3 of the members need to agree to close that meeting. If you don't have 2/3, then the closed meeting cannot be held. So quick math, 2/3 of 5 of you. 4. Not 3.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
The mayor's have a vote in that.
Right.
So just one person to object and we don't go to a close.
If there was the right now, yes.
Yeah.
With the 4
And
of
if
you
there's
here.
all 5 of us, then only 4 can call the closed session. If
Yeah.
there's only 4 of us, all 4 of us have to.
Yeah, all 4 have to agree. So just something to keep in mind. Only use a closed session when absolutely necessary. And we've already discussed some of the reasons you can close it. And I think you guys have done a great job in sticking to that.
You do good at warning us if we get off
yes,
subject.
you're very good at.
And I actually really appreciate it. So thank you.
Okay, well, we'll keep that way. During a closed meeting, you cannot approve an ordinance, resolution, rule, regulation, contract, or an appointment. You can't interview a person to fill an elected position. You can't discuss character, professional competency, or physical or mental health. And you can't take final action on a matter. All that needs to be done in an open meeting.
And you can't talk about it.
Thank you. And you can't talk about it.
Can you talk about it amongst yourselves, who were in the closed meeting?
Only during the meeting.
Only during the meeting. You should only be talking about it. Violation of open public meetings. If we decide to hold one without notice or and it's not an emergency meeting, there are some violations that could be imposed upon the city. So let's continue to do what we're doing and follow the rules. And if you want to take any of the online courses, I did the one for the that the auditors department offers, and I did pass. So I answered all the questions and got 100% on my test. So I'm really proud. But that it's a good refresher course.
So do we all pass now that we've been?
You all have
Except for Doral, he'll
passed,
have to do the
except for
online.
Doral, and I'm going to send him the online course and ask him to please take it. But it's always good to take it. It's a short, maybe I think it maybe took me 15 minutes,
Yeah, it's pretty
including the
short.
test. It's really short, but it's a great reminder. And at the mid-year spring conference, they'll also have a training on open public meetings as well. So you can attend that class if you'd like.
Thank you, Jody. And
you.
I'm glad that we took the time to go through that. That was really valuable. So appreciate that. All right, items for upcoming city council meetings. I know we've talked about parks, trails and recreation appointments.
Yep.
Anything else?
Maybe just that, the public meeting for the community development and what Daniel's trying to do before one of the council meetings in the future.
Oh, like the town hall.
Mhm.
Yeah, which again, I think that's a really good suggestion.
And I did talk to Kirsten about it, and I suggested that it be maybe in March and to look at the 25th, unless anybody has any problems with that date. That would give us enough time to send out a notice in our
Newsletters.
newsletter, but the February and the March utility bills.
Yeah, and then I had a citizen ask if we could post the results of the survey, or they want to wait till the open house to do that.
I don't have the full results yet. I'm going to ask Daniel for the presentation he gave tonight, and I will put that on with the official minutes and in the
And I think
packet
he's
information.
going to do something so that it's like tonight, although it's public, it was mostly the audience was us, but I think he has a report that he wants to put together that's more citizen friendly and kind of puts some caveats behind it. So it's just not the survey result itself, but it's some wordage in there.
Yeah, it was a person that's all for the dark skies. She wants that posted, those results.
Oh,
Okay.
so we're
She may
talking
post them
25th?
herself. She said she took screenshots.
All right, then with that, let's call the city council meeting to order. And Janet, if you would offer an invocation, and Doral is not here. You know what? I never get to say the pledge in this meeting. I'll say the pledge.
Okay, sweet. Our dear, kind, and gracious Heavenly Father, we're so grateful that we could be gathered here together as a council and city leadership, that we could meet together to discuss things, business of the city, and to be able to address the needs of our citizens. And please help us to be mindful of what our citizens want and to make our decisions based on what will be best for the future of our community. And we're so grateful for this opportunity that we have to serve. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please stand and recite the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm glad that you knew the pledge because our vice president didn't.
Well, when I'm 120, maybe I won't, but.
Our vice
Oh, vice
president.
president. Oh, gotcha. Okay, I thought you were talking about president. Not sure he knows it either. I only kid. All right.
I had to do it. I'm sorry.
Public comment.
Monica.
None from our public.
Monica.
And nobody else.
She wasn't feeling well. She
Okay.
retired.
Then we'll close the public comment portion and move on to item 17, Resolution 2025-1, appointment of Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll move to appoint Ben Hilliard as Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Malkovich,
I'll second it.
seconded by.
I was
Councilmember
gonna make
Hutchins.
you, I was gonna tell Carrie to, let's make you make the motion.
I had no idea you aspired
No,
to
I
Mayor
don't.
Pro Tem.
I was just being.
That-
Ben, you
is the
better
most
step
stressful.
up. Now that it's a contested position. All right, all in
Meeting
favor?
schedule.
I,
I
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? That motion carries, and thank you, Ben. Okay, resolution 2025-02, appointment of Mike Taylor to the Finance Committee.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Lunt,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councilmember Hilliard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. I seem to recall something saying that I didn't need to call for a motion to adjourn. I can just say meeting adjourned.
I think that's what we read.
Oh, okay. So if we can get a motion to adjourn, we'll do so.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
That's,
We're
I just don't
adjourned.
think you need a second.
Well, say what?
He just said the same thing.
I just
We
don't think you
need
need a second.
Oh, but we
Sorry.
still vote?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That's it. Thank